Chapter 2361. It should be called the human world or the lower world. The model of the heavenly court was different from that of the kingdom of heaven. Since they didn't have to pay the contract fee continuously, the heavenly court didn't need to urgently spread its beliefs. It had its own unique civilization of immortal and divine path. But what were gods and immortals? For this world, called Azure Blue, it seemed to have experienced the shattering of the heavenly Tao once. After the calamity, Azure Blue underwent a huge change. Generally speaking, every restart of the subworld will be accompanied by a huge disaster. Natural disaster or human disaster. Miss Maid was knocking on the blackboard. She was dressed in the female teacher style of a white shirt and black skirt that Boss Luo liked at night. Under the podium, Lady Nan was listening to the explanation with a serious face. Although she used to be a loner in the dimensional void, she had a lot of knowledge, but she didn't have a complete system yet. The system of the shop was different from that of the dimensional void. In order to become a qualified Black Soul envoy and possibly replace Cleopatra as the new guardian of the Kingdom of Heaven, Nan Xiaonan had to cram in knowledge in this area. Generally speaking, this was a formal induction training. Miss Yi, I have a question. Nan Xiaonan raised her hand and asked, according to what you said, there is a manager in each subworld. My understanding is that the manager is the origin of the will of the subworld. When I was walking in the void, the immortal life in the void liked to use the origin of the world as a unit of exchange. Are the two the same thing? The origin is the origin, and the will is the will, Miss Maid said indifferently. In fact, the official scientific name of the origin in the exchange unit should be World Core. However, the will of the world is usually associated with World Core. For some subworlds with a lower level of civilization or potential, the so-called ultimate life can't even distinguish between the two when they break through the inherent stratum. I come from a subworld with low potential. I'm sorry. Star creation technique is a very strange technique. Miss Servant Girl suddenly said, Master said that it may be able to reach the level of the Creator. Of course, you need to continue to perfect it. The Creator, the new ranking in Ms. Maid's class. It wasn't a saying in the dimensional void, but a one-sided division of the void giants in the shop. For example, in the state of the Trinity, he was at the level of the Creator. For example, the Celestial Emperor of the Heavenly Court was also at the level of the Creator. Due to the uniqueness of the Heavenly Court, there were even more creators in the Heavenly Court. They were also known as saints, but it was a different concept from the saints of the Heavenly Kingdom. This was the complexity of the dimensional void. Because the various major forces already had an extremely perfect system, and there was not much advantage or disadvantage between them, they had never been able to completely unify their concepts. There were even other big and small divine systems, scientific civilizations, and the existence of other civilizations. At this moment, Nan Xiaonan was just like when she first stepped into the void. A large amount of knowledge was poured into her, and she almost wanted to skip class. However, she just needed to endure until lunchtime. There were only 5 minutes left before Miss Servant Girl's meal preparation time. Lady Nan was also excited. Yi, Master seems to have left early in the morning. He should be back soon, right? After all, he still wants to eat the lunch you made. Oh, it's already so late. Miss Servant Girl suddenly put away the pointer in her hand. She organized the information and said with great kindness, Lady Nan, remember to copy today's content 10,000 times. This way, it will become a mechanical memory. I'll check it tomorrow. Work hard. Nan Xiaonan took a can of carbonated drink from the vending machine in the lobby. She suggested to add this vending machine in the lobby of the shop, and she didn't expect Boss Luo to agree. Pop! The sound of the can being opened. At this time, Nan Xiaonan was sitting on the water tower on the rooftop of a small 4-story building. Above her head, there were several towering skyscrapers. However, this wasn't the tallest building in Huiyun City. At present, the tallest building in Huiyun City was called the Flat Sky Building. It was owned by the Flat Sky Group, which controlled more than 70% of the economic lifeline of Huiyun City. The boss of the group was called Neo Dagwang. Most of the residents of Huayun City were working for the Flat Sky Group. The rest of the business entities were barely surviving in the cracks. The shop appeared yesterday and merged with this four-story building. It belonged to the type that only certain people could see its existence. Looking at the situation, the boss seemed to intend to operate here for a while. This was what Nan Xiaonan knew at present. Your King disturbing me. Suddenly, a roar came from a dilapidated single-family apartment next to the four-story building. Nan Xiaonan subconsciously looked over. A strong man with an iron head directly jumped out of the window at this time. His metal prosthetic arm was inserted into the wall, and he directly climbed upstairs. The strong man climbed to the next floor and started to fight with a yellow-haired guy who was having fun. Although the yellow-haired guy didn't have much muscle, he was good at boxing. His fists were like cannons, and he directly blasted the strong man out of the building. Good. In the originally quiet low-rise building, there was an endless stream of cheers. The yellow-haired guy was now standing in front of a big hole in the wall. Facing the cheers, he directly shook his butt. This guy was even naked. Bang! Lady Nan rubbed her eyes. This was the 5th time she saw a fight. After a while, a gray aircraft the size of a bus slowly landed. A troop walked out of it and directly took the strong man and the yellow-haired guy away. In theory, such a troop belonged to the Flaming Cloud City government. However, this troop, from the transportation vehicles to the weapons, were all produced by the Flat Sky Corporation. Right. It was said that the mayor of Flaming Cloud City was a woman named Tai Luo Sha. She was Niu Dawang's wife. Currently, they were living separately before the divorce. The rumor was that because of the intervention of a third party, Niu Dawang found a child that he had raised for many years. It was suspected that there was something wrong with it. What a chaotic city. Nan Xiaonan aimed at the hole in the yellow-haired guy's house and threw the empty bottle of happiness in her hand into it. 3 points, nice. At this moment, a figure slowly walked over from the chaotic street. Nan Xiaonan's eyes lit up, and she directly jumped into the street with a smile. Boss, you're back. What's this? I bought some ingredients on the way, Boss Luo said with a smile. I thought it was interesting, so I bought it. It seems to be a local specialty of Flaming Cloud City. I'll do it. Miss Nin eagerly took the things. Boss, did you get anything when you went out? She didn't know why Boss Luo went out, but she guessed that it was related to the matter that Madanzo had mentioned, the 11th Black Soul of the beginning. This Flaming Cloud City was the subworld that Madanzo had pointed out. It was one of the subworlds that belonged to the Heavenly Court, or one of the subworlds, the Mortal Realm. There were many subworlds under the Heavenly Court, but there weren't as many as the barbaric ones like the Heavenly Kingdom. However, the Heavenly Court's foundation was very stable. It was said that most of the subworlds provided the Heavenly Court with all kinds of consumables that the immortal Tao civilization needed. As for incense, which was similar to the power of faith, it was a minority, because the immortal Tao of the Heavenly Court this time was relatively poor. The need for incense was decreasing day by day. Instead, they were more interested in another thing called merit. Lady Maid had already prepared a sumptuous lunch at an incredible speed. The three of them sat at a round table. When Boss Luo was picking up food, Lady Maid had already peeled a plate of prawns and sent it to Boss Luo. It wasn't the first time that Nan Xiaonan had seen this kind of useless mode. She ate her rice and only dared to show a pair of eyes. Be careful of your words when eating. I looked around today, but I couldn't find the sub-administrator of Azure Blue. Boss Luo suddenly said. You couldn't find it? Lady Maid couldn't help but show a trace of doubt. Before they came, they were prepared that Pale Blue would be a special subworld because an Origin Black Soul envoy had once been lost here. Boss Luo thought for a while and said there were traces of a restart in Azure Blue subworld recently, about 1,000 years ago. However, for some unknown reason, the reboot stopped halfway through, and the next thing that happened was the disappearance of the sub-administrator. In addition, it was also from that time that Azure Blue lost the passage to the Heavenly Court. Speaking of this, Boss Luo smiled casually and looked at Nan Xiaonan, asking, Lady Nan, do you know what this situation should be called? A test of homework? Nan Xiaonan subconsciously rubbed her bangs. In this case, in the immortal Tao civilization, it should be called ultimate isolation of heaven and earth. Boss Luo nodded. Yes, it can all be summed up as this situation. But ultimate isolation of heaven and earth can also be divided into two types, the lower realms cut off and the upper realms cut off. Nan Xiaonan subconsciously said, then what does Azure Blue belong to? The lower realms artificial cut off, Boss Luo said indifferently. Nan Xiaonan said in shock, this seems to be similar to the subworld of number 003. As far as I know, back in the subworld of number 003, it was an emperor who cut off the passage between heaven and earth. Boss Luo shook his head and said, number 003 is a little different from Kanglan. It doesn't belong to any sphere of influence, but a place where many legends mix together. It is also the place where I grew up. Nan Xiaonan was slightly shocked and rubbed her head. Boss, you see, my little brain is not enough. Let's talk about number 003 in the future. Let's talk about Azure Blue. You said that the sub-administrator of Azure Blue went missing. Could it be that it has already? Boss Luo smiled and said, it didn't die. It just disappeared. Nan Xiaonan said, Boss, if you want to find it, it should be easy, right? Boss Luo said indifferently, there's a price to pay for everything, even for me. Besides, I have Lady Nan now. You have always been very reliable. I'm looking forward to your performance this time. Don't King talk to me in such an ambiguous tone. I don't want to die yet. I won't let you down, she said with a righteous face. Boss Luo smiled and said, by the way, in the afternoon, you can report to this place. I've already arranged it for you. This is your new identity. A stack of information appeared in front of Nan Xiaonan. It was an employment form. This is the employment notice of Huiyun City's number 1 high school. Boss Luo chuckled and said, I just handled it for you this morning. You'll be a biology teacher in number 1 high school. Why is it a biology teacher? She opened her mouth subconsciously. Boss Luo blinked and said, Lady Nan, weren't you a forensic doctor before? Biology shouldn't be difficult for you. Nan Xiaonan was silent for a while, not knowing if Boss Luo was reminding her of something or if he had other intentions. She thought for a while and said, then, boss, what's the purpose of me entering this high school? Boss Luo smiled and didn't say anything. Nan Xiaonan inside her heart, play by ear, right? Work hard. Boss Luo encouraged her and used the serving chopsticks to pick up a piece of vegetable and put it on Nan Xiaonan's plate. Eat. I don't want to die yet. Do you need my help? Boss Luo came to the kitchen at the back. Only Miss Maid was washing the tableware after the meal. As for Nan Xiaonan, she had already put on her black forest suit and picked up her handbag, going to work. I'll be done soon, Miss Maid said softly, and then her eyes moved slightly. Master, are we open for business in the afternoon, or at this time? Boss Luo hugged her from behind, smelling the good smell of shampoo wantonly. After a while, he smiled and said, you can't be too indulgent. Although you're in a good state now, you have to do something serious occasionally. I see, but I just bought some new clothes, business suspended. Huiyun City's number 1 high school. Nan Xiaonan stood in front of the school gate and looked up. She saw a large burnt mark on the signboard of number 1 high school. The sky above the school was filled with a thick layer of dark clouds. She blinked and walked into the school gate calmly. Wait! Just at this moment, a weak voice called out to her. Nan Xiaonan subconsciously looked over, only to see a man with only his underwear hanging on the iron gate behind the school gate. Bruises, burns, and all kinds of strange words were smeared all over his body, such as middle comma pig and so on. You are, at this time, the man said in a panic, go quickly. Don't go in. Don't go in. Don't be a teacher. The students here are inhuman. Nan Xiaonan chuckled and said indifferently, I was also called a student who was not a human in those days. Don't worry. With that said, Nan Xiaonan put the man down for the purpose of gathering information. Unexpectedly, as soon as she approached, the man said in horror, Don't come over here. There are red crystal bombs buried on the ground. Boom! A small mushroom cloud appeared in front of the school gate of number 1 high school. End of this chapter. Chapter 2362. The first thing a new teacher had to do was, of course, to meet with the school's leaders. In a shabby but spacious conference room, Nan Xiaonan was met by the school's principal and the teaching director. The principal of Fire Cloud's First High School was an ordinary old man, and the teaching director was also an ordinary uncle. Then, both of them were wearing eye-catching safety hats. Nan Xiaonan also had a safety hat on her head. When she came in, the teaching director kindly handed it to her, saying that it was just in case. The principal was called Wang Baiwan. At this time, he was introducing the history, development, and glory of Fire Cloud's First High School. In Kanglin, our Fire Cloud's First High School is definitely one of the top 100 principals. Every year, there are always one or two who can contribute to Kanglin. Teacher Nan, you can join our Fire Cloud High School. He couldn't help it. Lady Nan knocked on the table slightly and directly interrupted Wang Baiwan's endless speech. Is there anything you don't understand? Teacher Xiaonan? This. Nan Xiaonan expressionlessly points at her own face and rolls her pair of dead fish eyes. This. Could it be that no one can explain this to me? The ordinary teaching director was called Wang Jifu. In theory, he was Wang Baiwan's son. At this time, the director held his glasses and solemnly said, Teacher Xiaonan's makeup today is very good. She looks decent and is a model teacher. Keep it up. Good luck. I was king bombed into a black chicken. How can I still look decent? Nan Xiaonan slammed the table. Wang Baiwan and Wang Jifu suddenly trembled in fear. They were weak and helpless. Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but be startled. She sighed and suddenly stood up. Forget it, I'm going back. Don't. Wang Jifu suddenly rushed over, and Wang Baiwan followed closely behind. At this time, one of the two senior executives of Fire Cloud High School blocked the door of the conference room, and the other directly hugged her leg. A handful of tears and a handful of snot. Don't go. If we did anything wrong, you have to tell us, and we will change. But please don't leave. We haven't had a biology teacher for 3 years in a row, and we haven't had any biology classes. If this continues, our Fire Cloud High School will soon fall out of the top 100 of Azure Blue. Nan Xiaonan was immediately shocked. She said incredulously, this school has missed a class for 3 years in a row, and they can still stand in the top 100? Just how terrifying was this school's foundation? How could a soldier with a missing leg survive in such a terrifying battlefield like a university? Lucky. At this time, the director of wealth used a handkerchief to wipe his cold sweat. He gritted his teeth and said, Teacher Xiaonan, your arrival has brought a glimmer of hope to our school. 3 times the salary, in addition, an additional allowance of 3 spirit stones every month. In addition, there was also transportation allowance, housing allowance, transportation allowance, old age allowance, and maternity allowance. Even if you accidentally took maternity leave because of a bold student, we will not fire you. We will even reimburse you. Nan Xiaonan blinked her eyes. These 2 guys were easy to understand, so she signed the contract without hesitation. She didn't care about these benefits. It was just the boss's order. She sat down again, crossed her legs, and said indifferently, But I have a condition. Principal Baiwan replied with a face full of anxiety. Say it. Nan Xiaonan sneered. Tell me, which bastard buried the bomb at the school gate? However, the director of wealth's face changed slightly, while Principal Baiwan sighed faintly. So Teacher Xiao Nan already knew. Teacher Xiao who told you? Teacher Xiao, who was the guy who was bullied by Nan Xiaonan at the school gate. He was sent to the hospital now. I'm sorry, Ba Dan was actually very obedient when he was young. Teacher Xiao Nan, please be magnanimous and forgive this child. When we go back, I will definitely discipline her well. Something like this will never happen a second time. The director of Tycoon's face was pleading. When we go back, Nan Xiaonan's mouth opened slightly. Ba Dan, Wang Ba Dan, you guys? My daughter is naughty. In the conference room, Wang Baiwan and Wang Jifu sat down with tired faces as if their bodies had been hollowed out. Principal Baiwan wiped his cold sweat and heaved a sigh of relief. We finally settled her down. Wang Jifu also nodded and said, Yeah, He doesn't look like someone who's easy to get along with. Hopefully, there won't be any trouble. Who would have thought that the applicant this time would come with a letter of recommendation from the Pingtian Corporation? That's strange. The Pingtian Corporation has never sent people to Huiyun High. Maybe it's for that kid? Wang Baiwan's eyes narrowed, and he shook his head gently, indicating Wang Jufu not to speculate. When we go back, discipline Ba Dan well. Don't be like before, always looking for trouble, especially trouble with this new teacher. Wang Jufu said that fire crystal bomb was stolen from me by Ba Dan. Teacher Xiaohu was almost killed by the explosion, but this new teacher only suffered some superficial injuries and is fine. It seems that he's not simple. If it's an ordinary person, can he get a letter of recommendation from the Pingtian Corporation? Wang Baiwan said with a little fear, and the signature is from the chairman's office. I heard that Nyo Dawang's secretary is him. Could it be that teacher Xiaonan? Shoo, don't talk nonsense. A young and hot-blooded teacher came to a problematic high school and was in charge of a class of problematic children. Then, in the next few years, the hot-blooded teacher worked tirelessly and persevered. Finally, he successfully captured the students in the class one by one, turning the trash class that was once at the bottom into an all-star class. In the final graduation season, he received her promise. That should be the script, right? But she felt that something was wrong. After coming out from Wang Baiwan's place, Nan Xiaonan felt that something was very wrong. According to the script, the hot-blooded teacher's first wave of villains should be either the principal or the teaching director. But these two guys' attitudes were quite good, surprisingly good. Are you the new biology teacher? Hello. Who are you? At this time, a well-dressed man with gold-rimmed glasses appeared in front of Nan Xiaonan. However, Nan Xiaonan noticed that there was actually a furry tail behind this man. My name is Qing Hu. The man smiled slightly and said, I'm a teacher from the teaching staff office. The teaching director has already informed me. Next, I will bring you to familiarize you with the school. Teacher Xiaonan, let me take you to your office first. Nan Xiaonan nodded. She also had plans in this regard, mainly because she didn't know the purpose of her boss's arrangement. So, she could only collect as much information as possible about this Huiyun High School. Mr. Qing Hu, how long have you been here? Just call me Qing Hu or Teacher Qing Hu. Small talk. During the small talk, Nin Xiaonan knew why this teacher Qing, who had a tail. His father was a fox from Green Hill City. After a long journey, he finally married and settled down in Huiyun City. However, Qing, who had never been to Green Hill City once, because Huiyun City was too far away from Green Hill City. In addition, the teacher's work was too busy, so he couldn't take time out. However, teacher Qing, who planned to go to Green Hill City in the following summer or winter holidays. Nan Xiaonan didn't ask why. At present, it was good to have a preliminary understanding of some things. There was no one in the office. Qing, who said that at this time, the second-grade teachers basically had classes. I heard that the school hasn't had a biology teacher for several years. Can't you find one? Didn't the principal tell you? Nan Xiaonan shook her head gently. Teacher Qing, who was startled, and showed a bitter smile. They probably have a reason for not telling you. If the leader doesn't say, I can't say anything. After all, the benefits of this job are quite good. The world of adults was easy to understand, even more so in the workplace. Since teacher Qing, who had already said this, Nin Xiaonan naturally didn't continue to ask. Probably because the topic was a bit sensitive. Teacher Qing, who quickly smiled and said, I'll take you to the class you'll be in charge of next. Go ahead. Nan Xiaonan nodded. She was already prepared. After all, if the script she received was correct, she should encounter a lot of problems when entering the class for the first time. Problem students, who wasn't a naughty kid back then. Hello, teacher. A group of neatly dressed students with serious expressions on their faces were looking at Nan Xiaonan, who was standing on the podium with a slightly confused expression on her face. The students in this class were so F*** serious. The learning materials on everyone's desk were piled up to a foot high. There wasn't enough space on the desks. There were no water splashes, no chalk brushes that suddenly flew at them, and no low-level pranks like the all-purpose glue on the podium. There was no poison, no fire, and no explosion. There were no traps on the floor that would suddenly sink, and no female students would suddenly fall into their arms. There were also no students who looked at them with ill intentions. Nan Xiaonan was shocked. This was a group of good kids, each of them exuding the light of learning. So there really is a biology teacher. The school didn't lie to us. That's great. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I've already memorized the biology materials backwards. Teacher, please ask me questions properly. I've accumulated too many questions. I can't sleep and eat in peace. Teacher, in order to make up for the time we wasted, please take 10 minutes after class. Can I make up lessons after school? I can give you a tuition fee. Also, please give me 3 times the amount of homework. My big pen can't wait anymore. Ha ha. She didn't know how she walked out of the classroom. Perhaps Teacher Ching, who used some kind of reason to save her from the enthusiasm of the students. This scene was different from what she imagined. It must be an illusion. Year 2 Class A. Looking at the name of the class that just walked out, Nan Xiaonan calmed down a little and asked Teacher Ching, which class is next? Mr. Ching, who said, no, Mr. Xiaonan, you're mainly in charge of this second-year Class A. Other than that, you don't have any other classes. Only one class. Nan Xiaonan asked in shock. That's what the notice said. Mr. Ching, who nodded and said, as for the reason, if the principal didn't tell you, where are we going to visit next? Nan Xiaonan directly interrupted. Some functional classrooms, library, gymnasium, cafeteria, infirmary, and so on. Mr. Ching, who thought for a while, and said, it depends on which place you want to visit first. I'll accompany you this afternoon. Nan Xiaonan suddenly wrinkled her brows. She subconsciously looked left and right, carefully listened, and said, Teacher Ching, why do I feel that this teaching building is strangely quiet? It feels like there's only one class in this building. You're right, there's only one class now. Mr. Ching, who smiled and said, other classes? Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but ask curiously. Mr. Ching, who said, it's the time of the extraterrestrial battlefield now. The other classes are having actual combat lessons. Actual combat? Nan Xiaonan instantly took a deep breath and said, wait, let me look at the script first. I don't have a script. Mr. Xiao, Nan, seems to be a very humorous person. Mr. Ching, who chuckled, come, I'll bring you to the library. It's closer to here. In a place that was full of explosions and was full of scars and scars. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. A huge flaming arrow pierced the ground from the sky, following which it created a 100-meter wide flaming whirlpool. In the whirlpool, dozens of figures were burning in the fire, letting out miserable cries. On top of the cliff, a girl in red slowly put down the longbow in her hand. Between her hair, there were still some embers floating and slowly extinguishing. Good. Kill this group of Lion Tua trash. They actually dared to attack our headquarters. Don't they know that the headquarters is personally guarded by Big Sister Red Child? The girl on the cliff raised her bow again, shooting a flaming arrow into the distance. Counterattack. Stab this group of Lion Tua trash's chrysanthemums for me. I'm going to eat lion's penis and elephant's penis tonight. Yula, 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 yula. Ada, 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 Ada. One flaming arrow after another, from the cliff, like a meteor, crazily sniped the forest in the distance. Finally, the longbow seemed to be unable to withstand the girl's frequent pulling, and finally the bowstring broke. The girl frowned with dissatisfaction, then threw the longbow directly on the ground. Behind the girl, 3 girls quickly walked up at this time. One collected the broken bow on the ground. The other opened a box, took out a new bow from it, and handed it to the girl in red. Miss, this is the last one, tisk. The girl in red snorted coldly. I'll go to Eastern Sea City sooner or later to pull out the dragon tendon of Ao Biao's stupid son and make one that won't break. The third girl said, Miss, it's almost time. It seems that Lion Tagao is going to lose this time. It's already this late. The girl in red frowned. She felt that the new bow was not very good. Then she threw it away, cleaned up the battlefield, Don't forget to hand in 10 pairs of lion's penis. My dad loves to eat it. The three girls looked at each other. Lion Togao students, there was probably no more penis left, right? They had encountered Fire Cloud Gao 5 times in a row in the Foreign University ranking tournament, the infirmary. As the last stop of today's visit, Nan Xiaonan had nothing to look forward to. Along the way, Nan Xiaonan didn't see any other students except Class A. The whole campus was unusually quiet. She didn't even see many teachers. Speaking of which, the teacher in the infirmary just started today. Ms. Ching, who knocked on the door of the infirmary, suddenly said, "You're all new teachers. Maybe you can have a good chat." Nan Xiaonan blinked, following Ms. Ching, who entered the infirmary. Ms. Ching, who said casually, "Ms. Luo, let me introduce you. This is Ms. Xiaonan, the new biology teacher." Luo what? Nan Xiaonan rubbed her eyes subconsciously. Hi, teacher." The chair in front of her slowly turned. Boss Luo in a white robe slowly appeared in front of her. There was a receiver hanging on his body. "Hello, Ms. Xiaonan." At the same time, the curtain in front of the bed slowly opened, and a blonde girl in a nurse's uniform with a slightly rosy face slowly walked out. Nan Xiaonan sucked in a cold breath. F***CK, this couple really knows how to play. Chapter 2363. Nan Xiaonan was surprised that the boss and Miss Maid appeared in the infirmary, and there might even be unlocked plots such as the school infirmary AVI. However, Mr. Ching, who was still there, although Nan Xiaonan was full of doubts, she still left in a hurry after greeting him. But then again, this Miss Maid was really good at controlling her temperament. No matter what she wore, she looked like that. The daily novelty of the boss? It was said that men who had just opened the door to a new world would have a period of vigorous energy. The boss wouldn't be so desperate as to make a move on her, right? Nan, boss, don't do that. Miss Yi is still here. Luo, if you don't say anything, she won't know. Who asked you to wear clothes? Nan there. I can't do that. Daba, Luo, you're so coquettish, you're a little excited just thinking about it. Mr. Nan. Cough, Mr. Nan. Mr. Ching, who coughed and said seriously, although the school won't ask about a teacher's private life, as a teacher, you have to be a role model. Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but blink. Mr. Ching, who said indifferently, I'm half of the Green Hill Fox family. I can feel some fluctuations in people's lust. Mr. Nan, your thoughts just now were too powerful. F***CK. Anyway, there are some students in the school who have similar abilities. You better take care of yourself. Mr. Ching, who sighed. After all, Firecloud High School is really short of biology teachers. If the grades of biology can't be improved, Firecloud High School might fall out of the top 100 schools this year. Nan Xiaonan had been curious about this matter, so she couldn't help but ask, Mr. Ching, how many schools are there in Kanglan? Mr. Ching, who was stunned. I really haven't paid attention to this problem. However, there are countless cities in Azure Blue. There are at least tens of thousands of big and small cities. According to the average number of high schools in each city, there are at least tens of thousands of high schools. Firecloud High School is quite strong, Nan Xiaonan said seriously. It can still stay in the top 100 schools after missing one class. Ching, who opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but hesitated. Nan Xiaonan was stunned. So what's going on with the top 100 universities? The full name of the top 100 is Teacher Ching, who said shamefully, top 100 trash schools in Blue Sky. Below them are the 10 worst schools in Blue Sky. It's already the floor. Puff! Suddenly, a commotion interrupted Nan Xiaonan's thoughts. She subconsciously looked at the field outside the corridor. She didn't know when, but a huge door of light had appeared on the field. At this time, students wearing Flaming Cloud High School uniforms rushed out one after another from the light door. Some of the students looked fine, while others were battered and exhausted. There were even some students who were covered in blood as they were carried out of the door of light. The actual combat class is over. Teacher Ching, who explained, these are the teleportation doors that lead to the extraterrestrial battlefield. It seems that the battle in the extraterrestrial battlefield is still very intense this time. With so many injured people, I don't know if the new teacher Luo in the school doctor's office can handle it. I'm afraid that the First People's Hospital of Flaming Cloud High School will have to accept some of them. This was probably the busiest time in Flaming Cloud High School. At least, this was the busiest time in Nan Xiaonan's opinion. The entire school was instantly filled with students who came back from the extraterrestrial battlefield. Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but have a great interest in the extraterrestrial battlefield. Without much time to think, she directly tore off a button and used Xing Chuang when Teacher Qing, who wasn't paying attention. Then, with a light flick of her finger, the button was directly thrown into the teleportation door that hadn't closed yet. But the moment the Xing Chuang button was thrown into the teleportation door, a bright light exploded from the teleportation door. Nan Xiaonan's gaze subconsciously froze. Her button was actually blasted into pieces in an instant. Wind and lightning surged in the teleportation door. Those students who had yet to walk out of the teleportation door were all frightened. Many students were even implicated by the lightning and started cursing loudly. Which bastard didn't follow the rules again? Come out, I'll beat you to death. F***CK, your mother. The commotion in the field was quickly suppressed by the teachers who came back and slowly calmed down. In the teaching building, Teacher Qing, who suddenly looked at Nan Xiaonan and said, "Teacher Xiaonan, that was a warning thunder. It's usually used to warn those fellows who want to use illegal means to invade the extraterrestrial battlefield. For so many years, unless it's during the opening hours of the extraterrestrial battlefield, no one has ever been able to successfully enter during closed hours. You have to be more careful." These words were obviously a warning. This fellow, did he discover my little trick just now? She pretended not to know. There are many people who want to invade the teleportation door? Teacher Qing, who smiled casually and said, "The extraterrestrial battlefield is the main venue for the ranking battle of Azure Blue high schools. It also affects the ranking of this high school to a large extent. In addition, the extraterrestrial battlefield has other important functions. Therefore, the Ministry of Education has always made it clear that for the sake of fairness, the act of investigating the extraterrestrial battlefield in advance is prohibited. The punishment is very serious." Then, just now, it's just a warning thunder. Teacher Qing, who said indifferently, "There are so many high schools in Azure Blue. There are at least a few million students. A few times every day, it won't attract the attention of the Ministry of Education. After all, no one has succeeded in invading, right? Has anyone succeeded in invading before?" Nan Xiaonan subconsciously asked. Teacher Qing, who thought for a while, and said, "I heard that there was once a student from a high school who used some method to avoid the detection of the teleportation door and entered the extraterrestrial battlefield in advance. But after that, that student never appeared again. Not long after, that student's school was also abolished. Not good. The student has to go back to the classroom. Teacher Xiaonan, come with me first. Over here, try to avoid these students. The principal said that you're the biology teacher of second-year class. It should not be made public for the time being. Fire Cloud High School, school doctor's office." In front of the door, there was a very long line of injured students who came back from the extraterrestrial battlefield. Some of them were even on the verge of death and could only rely on their companions to support them. Most of the people in the line were poor students who couldn't afford the extra medical fees. After coming back from the extraterrestrial battlefield, the students who could afford had already contacted all the medical institutions in Fire Cloud City and left with the luck machines sent by these institutions. The treatment in the school doctor's office was free of charge. Of course, the treatment in the school doctor's office was only simple treatment of some wounds. For serious injuries, psychological treatment was more important than physical treatment. Is the line today much faster than usual? It seems so. Moreover, the students who come out seem to be very energetic. It seems that our results in the extraterrestrial battlefield this time are not bad. We shouldn't have met any strong opponents. Bullshit. Apart from Red Boy's team, we're all basically being slaughtered. Those who came out of the school doctor's office, regardless of whether they were male or female, their faces were brimming with reluctance. There were even students who had their wounds bandaged and unexpectedly lined up again. Female classmate. What happened? Female classmate. The new school doctor is so warm. He's my type. TSK, TSK. When he touched me, I wanted to ride him. Male classmate. What happened? Male classmate. The new nurse is so beautiful. I really wanted to whip me with a leather whip. And male classmate. What happened? Male classmate. What kind of godly combination is this? I can have both of them. Female classmate. What happened again? Many students. It's Red Boy. Red Boy is here. Quickly run. In the corridor leading to the school doctor's office, everyone was scrambling to escape. Some even chose to jump out of the window to escape. In the chaotic corridor, a girl in red walked slowly with an expressionless face. Behind the young girl were 3 other girls who followed her every step. They seemed to turn a blind eye to the ugliness of the students in the corridor until they came to the door of the school doctor's office. Miss, we're here. A girl walked to the girl in red and whispered, "This new school doctor seems to be very popular." The girl in red said, "It seems that there is another new teacher. It's already under investigation." Another girl quickly said, "But Wang Baiwan doesn't seem to be in the principal's office. I didn't even see Wang Jufu." The girl in red couldn't help but frown. "What about Ba Dan? She seems to have been taken away. The specific reason is still unknown." The third girl whispered, "Miss Ba Dan's phone is turned off." At this moment, the door of the school doctor's office slowly opened. A girl slowly walked out in a trance. However, the moment the girl saw the girl in red in front of the door, she instantly woke up. Her face was full of horror, and she wanted to squeeze her body into the wall. Red, 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 red. "Why aren't you leaving after the treatment?" The first girl behind the girl in red said indifferently, "Yes, yes." The girl felt as if she had been granted amnesty and immediately ran out of the room. The girl in red frowned and looked at the girls running back thoughtfully. "Miss, what's wrong?" The girl in red thought for a while and said, "This girl, I should have seen her on the battlefield today. Her intestines were pulled out." "What?" The 3 girls couldn't help but show a surprised expression. At this moment, a female voice came from a school doctor's office. "Next. Wait for me here." The girl in red ordered indifferently and directly pushed the door open. The 3 girls stood directly outside the school doctor's office. No one dared to approach. After the girl in red entered the door, she frowned first. She saw a blonde beauty with blue eyes walking toward her. She had seen a lot of good-looking women. Not counting those on the street, Niu Wang's secretary was basically a very good-looking vixen, especially the one who was likely to be her stepmother in the future. But compared with the nurse in front of her, the girl in red instantly felt like comparing a high-quality food ingredient with a rubbish one. "Student, where are you hurt? If it's just a skin wound, please follow me to bandage it." The nurse's professional smile was almost perfect. She knew it was a professional smile, but it was also a smile of love for saving lives. The girl in red couldn't help being a little moved. This woman's temperament was close to the peak. "Where's the school doctor? I want to see him." The girl in red said indifferently. She even directly walked past the nurse, the servant girl, and went straight in. In front of the table, Boss Luo, the school doctor, was casually writing his work log. The girl in red approached, holding her chest and looking down. "Are you the new school doctor? You're so white and clean. What do you have?" "Doctor, this student, she..." Nurse Yi came with a helpless look at this time. She seemed to be a school doctor who couldn't do anything to the student. Dr. Luo waved his hand, indicating Nurse Yi to go back to his side. Dr. Luo looked at the girl in red. "I'm a doctor. Of course, my ability is the ability of a doctor. Student, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" The girl in red spread her legs and sat down. "My left atrium isn't feeling well. Can you check it for me with a stethoscope?" "This is just an ornament." Dr. Luo smiled. "To make myself look more professional." The girl in red said, "Ornament? More professional? Why? Are you not professional?" Dr. Luo said, "Giving the patient confidence should be the first thing to do. No matter how good my medical skills are, at least I can't let the patient down at the beginning." The girl in red raised her eyebrows. "My left atrium is uncomfortable. How do you diagnose it?" "Feel the pulse." Dr. Luo smiled. I'm good at this. The girl in red blinked her eyes, chuckling. Feel the pulse? I'm the child of a monster and a Rakshasa ghost. There are not many meridians in my body that are similar to humans. Are you sure you can cure my disease? As long as you have the heart. Dr. Luo smiled. Whether it's a human or a monster's child, they're all born with a heart. Most of the meridians come from the heart. Since there's a problem with the heart, it will naturally be reflected in your body. Student, can you give me your hand? The girl in red sneered, directly putting her hand on the hand pillow. I'll make it clear in advance. If you can't see my disease, you can pack your bag and get out. Fiery Cloud High School doesn't raise useless people. Well, Dr. Luo couldn't help but look embarrassed, muttering, I still need this job. It seems that there's no other way. Student, if you don't mind, I can only use the ancestral secret prescription to treat you. What secret prescription? Dr. Luo looked at Nurse Yi. Nurse Yi turned and walked into the medicine dispensing room. After a while, Nurse Yi came back. At the same time, she was holding a syringe that was as thick as a bucket and more than 2 meters long. The girl in red was stunned. This is my ancestral tonic. It can cure all diseases. Dr. Luo said seriously, Let me give you an injection, student. End of this chapter. Chapter 2364. The needle hasn't been injected yet, but the 2-meter-thick syringe looks very intimidating. The red-dressed girl can clearly see the liquid medicine in the syringe, which is still bubbling at this moment. And it was a blue-purple liquid. You call this medicine? She was silent for a moment. Then she squeezed out a voice from her throat. Is there a problem? Dr. Luo nodded. I'm a certified doctor. Don't worry, the medicine I prescribed can't kill people. Can't kill people, but I'm a freaking descendant of a monster? Are you kidding me? This time, the girl in red seemed to have squeezed the words out of her mouth. She even revealed a mouthful of sharp, saw-like teeth. Student, how do you know it won't work if you don't try it? Dr. Luo smiled faintly. That's what you said. Let me treat you. What if it doesn't work? The girl in red sneered. Dr. Luo said matter-of-factly, Of course I'll do as you said. Leave this school. Probably find another job. So, go inside and get the injection. Don't worry, my nurse is very skilled. It won't hurt. The liquid in the needle seemed to be squeezed out. The girl in red clearly saw the liquid falling to the floor, which directly corroded a small hole on the floor. The girl in red sighed and said expressionlessly, Do you know who I am? You're a student here. Dr. Luo lowered her head, holding the work log. By the way, tell me your name. The girl in red narrowed her eyes, but snorted with a smile and stood up directly. I'm leaving. I hope you can work here for a long time. Dr. Luo blinked. Student, you haven't told me your name yet. The girl in red ignored her and left directly. Please wait a minute. Dr. Luo suddenly shouted. The girl in red impatiently turned around and frowned. At this moment, she saw something flying towards her. She subconsciously caught it in her hands, only to discover that it was just an ordinary little box. What's this? A kind of ointment. Dr. Luo smiled. It's very effective for treating burns. The heart should be fine for now, but if you have burns on your palms, you can apply it 3 times a day, and it will be fine soon. Burns, the girl in red was silent for a moment. She had long been accustomed to the burning sensation in her palm, which should have been unbearable for others. She didn't mind it at all. She had to hold a bow. My name is Red Boy. The red-dressed girl left. Dr. Luo, Boss Luo put down his work log and chuckled. Looking at the situation, there shouldn't be any students coming for treatment today. Let's get off work. My first day at work is quite fulfilling. Nurse Yi, Miss Maid looked at the giant needle that was left unused and said with a little pity, I used a lot of materials to make it. It will come in handy someday. Boss Luo suddenly looked out of the window at the portal on the playground. When the last student dragged his tired body out of the portal, it slowly closed. I don't know what's inside. When Boss Luo and Miss Maid walked out of Huiyuan High School, it was already very late. In front of the school gate, they saw Nan Xiaonan leaning on the side alone, staring blankly at the fading clouds above Huiyuan City. When she heard the commotion, she immediately ran over in small steps. Boss, are we going back? Did your new job go well today? Boss Luo asked casually. Not bad. Nan Xiaonan thought for a moment and said, but there seem to be a lot of problems in Huiyun High School. The specific problems need follow-up investigation. In addition, I haven't found out why you asked me to work here. Let's go back first. Boss Luo waved his hand. Tonight, we will have a guest. Guests? Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but be startled. Boss Luo smiled. We met in the morning and chatted for a while. In the morning, speaking of which, the boss went out alone early in the morning and suddenly asked her to come to Huiyun High School to work when he came back at noon. Boss, how many things did you do in the morning? It was a huge building built in the center of Huiyun City, like a pavilion in the sky, the luxurious mansion of the chairman of Flat Sky Collective. Welcome back, miss. The moment the door was opened, hundreds of servants stood on both sides and spoke in unison. The girl in red walked through the crowd with an indifferent expression. At this time, a middle-aged housekeeper walked forward respectfully. Miss, you have worked hard today. I have prepared hot water for you. Please take a bath first. The girl in red didn't speak and just turned her head to look at the three girls behind her. This is the spoils of war you got on the battlefield today. One of the girls handed a brocade box to the housekeeper. It's fresh food for the master. I'll freeze it right away. The housekeeper nodded quickly. The girl who handed over the box frowned. Housekeeper, you didn't understand what Miss meant? The housekeeper stammered. Master said he has a meeting tonight. Miss, you don't have to wait for dinner. The girl in red didn't even look back. She walked up the stairs without saying a word. However, not long after, she had already appeared again. This time, she had changed into a tight black leather suit. I'm going out for a walk. Don't follow me. The name of the motorcycle was Reverse 5 Elements. It was custom-made by a master from the distant Kunlun city. When it started at full speed, it could spew out fire clouds, and the strong heat could melt steel in an instant. Reverse 5 Elements was the symbol of the miss of Ping Tian Corporation. As long as a fire cloud appeared in the city, no one dared to stop it. She was having fun. Her father controlled more than half of the wealth of Flaming Cloud City, and her mother was the head of the officials of Flaming Cloud City. The people in charge of traffic didn't dare to stop her, and they didn't dare to provoke her. At this time, the Reverse 5 Elements stopped directly on a bustling street, and the heat wave that it sprayed made the surrounding people retreat. At this time, Red Boy shouted, "Get on." Soon, in the crowd, a tall girl wearing ripped jeans jumped directly onto the motorcycle and took advantage of the situation to wrap her arms around Red Boy's waist. Reverse 5 Elements started again and slowly rose. Red Boy, why are you so late? The tall girl smiled and said, I was grounded by my father and grandpa, but I managed to sneak out. I went home, Red Boy said indifferently. The tall girl turned her eyes and whispered in Red Boy's ear, Old Neo is not at home. Did he go to find that vixen again? Sit tight, Red Boy said indifferently. The tall girl said, Where are you going? Red Boy said, Elysium. The huge fire cloud instantly sprayed out, and a big hole was directly melted on the street. The Reverse 5 Elements had rushed into the night sky of Flaming Cloud City. Slow down, slow down. The small building that was connected to the shop was located in an old and crowded city area where people from all walks of life would mingle. In theory, this kind of place would not be quiet all day long. There would be fights, peddlers shouting, and nightingales greeting. But it was too quiet at this time. It was so quiet that Nan Xiaonan didn't even notice that there were figures moving in the windows of the residential buildings on both sides of the road. In front of the shop, there was a black limousine hovering in the air. It was surrounded by people who were fully armed and even had the eye-catching Flat Sky logo on them. Boss, the customer you mentioned, is he? Yes, just as you think. Boss Luo smiled and said, The chairman of the Flat Sky Group. Yoda Wang? Nan Xiaonan whispered. She already controlled the volume of her voice very well, but the armed guards beside the extended version of the car still cast their gazes one after another. Moreover, the weapons in their hands were pointed at Nan Xiaonan's body one after another. In a split second, dozens of red dots gathered on Nan Xiaonan's body. It turned out that there were not only dozens of guards in front of the shop, but also dozens of snipers lurking in the nearby residential buildings. Stop. Remove the alert. At this time, an incomparably steady voice came from the hovering black car. In a flash, the red dot on Nan Xiaonan's body disappeared. At the same time, a tall and sturdy man with a pair of black horns on his head and a fierce look in his eyes, wearing a black suit, slowly walked out of the car. After the man got out of the limousine rose a little. What a heavy guy, Nan Xiaonan thought to herself. This was the chairman of the Flat Sky Group, Niu Dagwang, the man who controlled the economic lifeline of the entire Huiyan city. Well, a male monster? Indeed, Nan Xiaonan felt an unusual sense of oppression from this guy. At this time, the middle-aged man with black horns slowly walked to Boss Luo. His attitude was neither good nor bad. He just said lightly, "You are back, Mr. Luo. My master has been waiting for you for a long time. On the way, I bought some ingredients." Boss Luo smiled slightly. "However, I remember that the appointed time should be 8 p.m. My master doesn't like to be late." The black-horned man with a domineering aura said lightly. "Meow, meow, meow." Nan Xiaonan could not help but blink her eyes. This guy was not Niu Dagwang. She subconsciously looked at the limousine. At this time, she saw a sneaky head sticking out of the limousine and looking around suspiciously. This head also had 2 black horns, but it was abnormally short, only as long as a thumb. It was quite cute. It was white and clean, with a chubby little face, a mustache, and small eyes. He was looking around in the limousine, seemingly hesitating whether to come down or not. At this time, he asked softly, "Black Star, is it safe? Can I come down? There are no assassins, right?" Nan Xiaonan. The burly man, Black Star, strode back to the limousine. He bowed and said, "Don't worry, master. The area around has been cleared. There are no suspicious people. Then I will come down. I will really come down. I guarantee with my life that you can get out of the limousine. I will really come down. I have already come down." At this time, the timid guy stretched out his short legs and landed on the limousine, but he immediately retracted them. "Black Star, why do I feel like the floor is shaking? Is there a strong person nearby who wants to kill me secretly?" The burly man did not say anything. He just reached into the limousine and directly pulled the guy out. Like a chicken, he carried him all the way to Boss Luo. Even so, the timid guy still held on tightly to Black Star's arm during the process. This guy was only about 3 meters tall. The chairman of the Flat Sky Group, the local emperor of Fire Cloud City, known as the Bull Demon King, the harem of 3,000. Niu Dagwang, Nan Xiaonan. "Boss, these 2 people, did they really not take the wrong script?" She could not help but quietly ask Boss Luo carefully. "You go in with Yi first." Boss Luo shook his head lightly. Nan Xiaonan obediently answered and followed Miss Maid into the shop first. "Mr. Bull, let's go in too." Boss Luo looked at Niu Dagwang and Black Star at this time. Niu Dagwang was still holding on to Black Star's arm tightly. He swallowed and said, "Is there an ambush in here?" After that, I thought about it. Could it be that you were sent by that wife? Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that I would bump into you when walking the dog in the morning? "Mr. Bull, please come in." Boss Luo just turned sideways and made an inviting gesture. "Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't go in. It's not compulsory here." Niu Dagwang subconsciously looked up and sized up the ordinary door in front of him. Vaguely, he seemed to hear the bell in front of the door suddenly ringing, making a crisp sound as if it was going to knock into his heart. He was slightly absent-minded, as if he had made an important decision. He gritted his teeth and said, Black Star, let's go in. Pure Land of Bliss." This was a magical bar. It was said that when Pure Land of Bliss was at its peak, it had once blossomed all over dark blue. It had branches in all the big and small cities. As for whether this rumor was true or not, Red Boy had no way to verify it. After all, she rarely left Flaming Cloud City. However, other than being a place to beat people up, the alien battlefield was also a very good place to gather information about other cities. Many teams from other cities on the battlefield would occasionally mention this magical bar. This was a place of depravity, where all the happiness one could imagine could be found. At this time, Red Boy was sitting alone in a booth in a corner, as if she was thinking about something. She was playing with something, a small box. She still couldn't figure out why the box was in her pocket. She remembered that when she left the school doctor's office, she should have directly thrown the so-called burn medicine into the trash can. After returning home, she even changed her clothes. However, it still appeared in her pocket. What is this? At this time, the tall girl came back with 2 bottles of beer and gave one to Red Boy. Red Boy casually threw the box in her hand on the ground and took the beer from the tall girl, casually saying, "Useless thing." Saying so, Red Boy raised the bottle and was about to blow it. Unexpectedly, at this time, a hairy hand directly snatched the beer from Red Boy's hand. Here, underage people are not allowed to drink. Red Boy was not angry when the thing was snatched away. Instead, she revealed a look of surprise. "Uncle, when did you come back?" In front of her was a monkey wearing a black jacket, with a monkey's head and a monkey's face monkey. This chapter ends. Chapter 2365. Curious about what the boss and Yo Wong were talking about, Nan Xiaonan took the initiative to pick up the rag while Miss Maid was preparing other things. Starting from the corner, Nan Xiaonan wiped all the way to the door of the study, and her ears became more and more erect. As the black soul envoy of the shop, Nan Xiaonan found that she couldn't get too close to the boss study. Black Star, who was like a giant bull, was guarding in front of the door of Boss Luo's study. Obviously, Niu Wong didn't want others to know what he was talking about in the study. But she was still curious. But when Nan Xiaonan met Black Star's fierce gaze, she could only awkwardly continue to wipe in another direction. In the study, the boss of the Flat Sky Group, who controlled the economic lifeline of Huayun City, didn't sit down. After entering the door, Niu Wong, who was only 3 meters tall, began to carefully observe everything. It seemed that he was going to lift the floor. It wasn't the first time that Boss Luo saw such a suspicious look. He had seen it when he went out in the morning. As for whether the encounter between him and Niu Wong was intentional as Niu Wong thought, even Boss Luo himself couldn't say for sure. "Mr. Niu, please rest assured. What you are worried about won't happen here." Boss Luo smiled at this time. "At least, no one has been able to use violence in the shop so far. Well, it's quite sturdy. It seems that it won't suddenly fall down." At this time, Niu Wong jumped a few times on the spot, as if he was finally relieved. He shuddered, sat down, and sighed. "Don't mind. I always value my own safety. Well, what I mean is, when you have a wife who thinks about how to kill you for 360 days a year, except for the days when she is on her period, you will understand." Boss Luo said casually, "Mr. Niu, your wife isn't here." "I know." Niu Wong sighed again and looked at himself anxiously. "I feel like she's standing behind me. Hey, can you really help me? Can you help me repair my relationship with my wife?" Boss Luo smiled and said, "Mr. Niu, according to what you said, your wife wanted to kill you because you were too fickle. My suggestion is that you get rid of this shortcoming." Niu Wong sighed and said, "But this is what I like. If I could change it, why would I come here? As the saying goes, a bull doesn't drink water, and you can't force it. Mr. Luo, is there no way to make my wife be more magnanimous? I don't ask for much, as long as my wife doesn't try to assassinate me." Boss Luo said indifferently, "I heard that your wife is preparing to divorce you, Mr. Niu. Living apart, not apart. We can't divorce." Old Niu put his hands in his sleeves. This old Niu didn't agree. "Our marriage was on Xingyue Mountain, and the witness was our teacher. When we were in school, this old Niu accidentally got her pregnant, and I can't deny it. My teacher is very protective. If this matter were to spread to my teacher, this old Niu's foundation in Huayun City wouldn't even be enough to slap him." Boss Luo thought for a while and said, "My rule here is if you want something, you have to exchange it with something corresponding." With that, Boss Luo slowly opened the drawer of the desk and took out 2 small bottles. Niu Wong looked at it in confusion. "What is this?" Boss Luo said, "This is a special secret medicine. Give the red bottle to the person you want to change, and then give the blue bottle to another person. Then the person who takes the red medicine will become obedient to the person who takes the blue medicine. Really? Neo Da Wang's eyes lit up. Don't lie to me. Do you believe that I won't let you walk out of Huayun City alive? Let me tell you, this old Neo is very powerful. Have you heard of Xingyue Mountain's little overlord? Boss Luo chuckled. You can take the medicine first. If it's effective, I'll collect the reward. Old Neo rolled his eyes. Then this old Neo won't be polite. However, this is only a trial. Boss Luo said indifferently. The medicine can only last for about 2 hours. Of course, there are also permanent sets. Take the trial as a thank you gift for giving me 2 copies of Huiyun High School's admission letter. Let me try it first, Neo Dagwang said directly. This was related to his principle of doing business. It was a bastard who didn't take advantage of others. When he was studying in Demonic Moon Mountain, this old Neo had already deeply grasped the method of saving money by giving free trials and small gifts. After a semester, he could save a lot of expenses and go to the daughter city, club twice more. Besides, if this thing was really effective, it wouldn't be a problem to buy it in the long term. Boss Luo said, Mr. Neo, please remember that there is a time limit for taking both. It can't be more than 3 minutes, otherwise it will lose its effect. Neo Dagwang nodded solemnly. Then, he sneakily looked around and lowered his voice. Dr. Luo, actually, old Neo has one more thing that I need your help with. What is it? Neo Dagwang got closer and said, that is, do you have any miraculous medicine that can make people regain their masculinity? I've been a little weak recently. Boss Luo blinked and said, Mr. Neo, you should be considered extraordinary among the monsters. Since he had already said it, there was no point in saying thanks again, so Neo Dagwang sighed and said tirelessly, that day, I was doing something important in the office. That woman, Tyrosa, suddenly rushed in. Without saying anything, she kicked me in the groin. My skin is thick, so this kind of injury naturally wouldn't hurt me. But since that time, Neo Dagwang sighed, I've secretly seen many doctors. Those quacks actually said that it was because of the psychological trauma that old Neo suffered. Oh, old Neo, I'm the bravest, okay? That year in Slanting Moon Mountain, so many people were afraid of Tai Luo Sha, but I got her pregnant. Don't you think I'm very brave? Neo Dagwang looked at Boss Luo expectantly, as if this was the main purpose of his trip. Boss Luo thought for a while and said, I can also make this kind of medicine, but I didn't prepare it today. Mr. Neo, why don't you try the red and blue medicine first? Old Cow nodded slightly disappointedly. That's right. Something that can be casually taken out might not be very precious. I tried all kinds of tonics, but I keep feeling that I'm missing something. Old Cow nodded slightly in disappointment. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was the voice of Miss Maid outside. She said that dinner was ready. Boss Luo very politely invited Neo Dagwang to stay, but old Neo seemed to be in a hurry to test the effects of the red and blue medicine. Under the protection of Black Star, he hurriedly hid in the car that had almost exploded with its defense. Dr. Luo, I'll come again next time. Outside the shop, Nan Xiaonan watched the flying car fleet leave while sweeping the floor. After Neo Dagwang's car took off, dozens of cars suddenly appeared nearby, and there were also 3 huge airships. It's enough to fight a surprise attack. This guy is really afraid of death. Lady Nin couldn't help but shake her head, and then she asked curiously, Boss, what did Neo Dagwang buy? Boss Luo smiled casually and said, he didn't buy anything. Nothing? Nan Xiaonan said in disbelief. You talked for a long time. The boss did it himself, but he didn't sell it. This was not scientific. Could it be that the boss's passive only worked on beautiful girls? As long as it was a beautiful girl, it would work? Boss Luo smiled casually and said, a businessman always thinks about many things. Also, in Neo Dagwang's eyes, this is just a private clinic. Clinic? Nan Xiaonan was stunned, and she subconsciously looked up at the shop. She didn't know when, but this place really changed into a private clinic. Boss, are you going to continue playing the doctor and nurse game with the servant girl? Why are you so excited? Lady Nan, remember to wipe the place you just wiped. You can't be careless. The servant girl turned sideways, smiling. Okay. Amidst the chaotic and confusing music, the tall girl wasn't surprised when Red Boy called the leather-jacketed monkey uncle. Azure Blue was a world where humans, demons, monsters, and ghosts lived together. Red Boy was a pure blood monster. Of course, the tall girl was a pure human. 18 generations of her ancestors were all pure human beings. Dan, you play here first. I have something to say to Uncle. At this time, Red Boy directly pulled the black leather jacket monkey and walked out. Go. Just remember to reimburse tonight's expenses. The tall girl waved her hand to see them off. Of course, this was just a joke. However, she was indeed exempted from the bill for the rest of her life. Because this black leather jacket monkey was the boss of this Elysium bar, Sun Ming, who was known as Prince of Fighting Saint. Uncle, where have you been all this time? I've come to you several times. She was like a naive girl at this time, entangling with Sun Ming and affectionately pulling the monkey's hand. I went out to do something, Sun Ming said casually. The two were sitting on the upper floor of the bar, looking at the light box of the Elysium bar signboard, looking at the 5 lights and 10 colors of Huiyin City. Are you done? Red Boy asked curiously. Half done. Sun Ming smiled casually, but suddenly turned over Red Boy's palm. You haven't stopped practicing bow and arrow? Red Boy shrugged and said, there are so many weapons. Only bow and arrow are the most suitable. If I don't practice this, what else can I practice? Sun Ming said indifferently, there are many ways of archery. You're just stubborn and plunged into this evil bow. I told you that the 9 arrows are the stuff of the ancient god Ho-E. It's not something you can master. If you mess around like this, you will sooner or later suffer a backlash. Red Boy rubbed her palms and said with a smile, it's okay, I can master it myself. Sun Ming shook his head, but directly grabbed Red Boy's hands. Suddenly, a cool feeling began to spread in Red Boy's palm. The cold feeling made her feel so comfortable that she wanted to moan. Sun Ming said, this is just a temporary solution. You are born with a fire spirit physique, and you have practiced this overbearing archery. Sooner or later, you will suffer a backlash. Let's not talk about this. Red Boy waved her hand impatiently, blinked, and said, Uncle, when are you going to marry my mother? And I will call you father in the future. Sun Ming laughed involuntarily and said, your old cow can chase me to the southern heavenly gate. What kind of rebellious thoughts are you having? Red Boy sneered and said, don't think I don't know. When you used to look at the stars with my mother, you even called her little sweetie. My mother has always remembered your kindness for so many years. When she scolded the old cow, she always used you as a comparison. Sun Ming said indifferently, you still don't understand adult matters. Your mother and I, it's really not what you think. Your father is the ancestor of the torrents. He looked up at the bright moon above Huiyin City and was in a daze. The bright moon seemed to be dyed crimson by the unique brilliance of Huiyin City. At this time, Red Boy lowered her head and leaned over, asking softly, who is that woman? But before Sun Ming could answer, Red Boy pretended to yell, kid, don't be so nosy. Sun Ming rolled his eyes in annoyance. Red Boy giggled, how is it? My acting is very good, right? Who asked you to say the same sentence every time? Meddlesome. Sun Ming directly lifted Red Boy up and threw her down from the light box. It's 10 o'clock. Go home and sleep. Red Boy didn't listen. After turning over and landing steadily, she walked directly to the door of the bar. Sun Ming said indifferently at this time, if you are not obedient, I will forbid you to step into this place in the future. Red Boy froze at the door and subconsciously looked up. Under the moonlight, the monkey in a black leather jacket had a frosty face, aloof and independent, almost ruthless. She shuddered inexplicably. After muttering, she turned her head and summoned the reverse 5 elements and flew away. In a huge mansion like a pavilion in the air, in the huge martial arts field, a blazing aura was flowing. The girl was lying on the floor, drenched. Around her were strong bows that had been broken. The girl's hands had long been burned into a bloody mess. She just lay there silently. After a long time, it was already past the time for underage girls to sleep. Red Boy suddenly sat up and frowned. From the beginning, She felt the same feeling coming from the training suit. She subconsciously dug into the training suit. After a while, she took out an ordinary small box from her clothes. Red Boy looked at the thing in her palm in disbelief. She should have thrown it away when she was in the Elysium bar. Why is it back again? Her rebellious nature flared up. She grabbed the box and was about to throw it away. But this time, she stopped halfway through throwing it. Red Boy pondered for a while. Finally, she tentatively opened the box, took out some frost-like cream from it, and slowly wiped it on her palm. It actually doesn't hurt. End of this chapter. Chapter 2366. The Flat Sky building had 99 floors, and Nyo Dagwong's private office was on the 99th floor. Not only was it his office, but it was also Nyo Dagwong's resting area. Most of the time, it could be used as a living area. After leaving Dr. Luo's place, Nyo Dagwong didn't go home. Instead, he returned to the Flat Sky building. It seemed that Nyo Dagwong could only feel at ease on the 99th floor, which was built like an iron wall. He didn't hold Black Star's arm anymore. Instead, he walked on the carpet in a relaxed manner. At this moment, Black Star slowly followed behind Nyo Dagwong. Suddenly, he said, "You seem to trust that doctor a lot." Nyo Dagwong said, "Don't you think that doctor has a strange power that can make people trust him?" Black Star said indifferently, "I didn't detect any fluctuation of demonic or immortal power. According to the current data, he is just an ordinary person." An ordinary person? Nyo Dagwong smiled and said, "If he were an ordinary person, would he be so calm in front of me? Does he really think that I, Nyo Dagwong, am a coward?" Suddenly, a loud noise sounded. Nyo Dagwong's face turned pale. He immediately squatted down with his hands on his head. What happened? Did my wife call me again?" Black Star's cold eyes looked out of the window. After looking around for a while, he said indifferently, "It's just a balloon with a human face that burst outside. It's not an attack." Balloon? Nyo Dagwong was stunned. He carefully walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and slowly stretched his head out. "Oh my God, what is that?" He was instantly shocked. He directly climbed onto Black Star's back and hugged Black Star's head tightly. "I told you, it's a balloon with a human face," Black Star said without moving. In the southeast of the Flat Sky building, there was a green urban forest park. At this moment, in the dark night, huge human faces were slowly floating up. The human heads floating out of the dark forest looked like huge ghost faces. What the F asterisk CK? Which B asterisk star did this? I will kill him. I old Nyo am very fierce. Most importantly, these giant balloon-like heads were still in his old ox form. "Have you forgotten?" Black Star said expressionlessly. "The Little Forest Hotel's groundbreaking ceremony is in a few days. You said that the venue has to be special. You were the one who signed the proposal." "That's quite creative." Nyo Dagwong slowly climbed down from Black Star's back, then shrank back into his own chair. He suddenly took out a bottle containing 2 small pills. After a moment of silence, he pressed a button on the table and ordered 2 people come. "Yes, Chairman." A sweet voice instantly responded to Nyo Dagwong's request. Nyo Dagwong nodded and looked at Black Star. After thinking for a while, he said, "There's nothing for you to do for now. Go and rest, Black Star." Black Star nodded respectfully and walked straight to the wall at the side. The moment Black Star walked to the wall slowly opened. In the opening of the wall, there was a groove that was similar to Black Star's body. Black Star's entire body was directly embedded into the groove, and a large number of tubes began to pierce into Black Star's body. Charging mode. Standby mode. The wall returned to its original state, without leaving a single trace. At the same time, the elevator door on the 99th floor slowly opened, and 2 hot women walked out slowly. They smiled and walked in front of Nyo Dagwong. "Both of you eat these 2 pills." Nyo Dagwong directly pushed the 2 small bottles and said calmly, "We'll play this tonight." The 2 sexy women blinked and hesitated. They smiled and picked up the red and blue pills respectively and swallowed them directly. This was not the first time. Nyo Dagwong would often let them take some special drugs to liven things up. This was probably a new, good stuff that he had bought from God knows where. At this time, Neodagwong looked at the two women who swallowed the red and blue pills with a hint of expectation. How is it? Do you feel anything? Chairman, I'm so hot. One of the women directly climbed under the table. Chairman, are you hot? I'll help you to cool down the fire with physical means. Okay. Oh, okay. Neodagwong hummed, then suddenly shivered and jumped up. I'm not asking if you feel this way. Every time it's like this, can't you be more considerate? I, old Neo, have worked hard every day for you, and now I've lost so much. I'm asking you, do you feel anything else? The woman under the table blinked her eyes in confusion, not knowing what to do. But at this time, the other sexy woman gave off a different feeling. Old Neo seemed to feel something. After thinking for a while, he ordered the woman under the table, You, go over there and ask her to lick your feet. The woman under the table blinked and nodded. Chairman, are we playing this tonight? I understand. You should have said so earlier. Oh my God, the drug worked. In the huge martial arts field, Red Child looked at her palms in surprise. She hadn't felt her hands so relaxed for a long time. Waves of coolness seeped into her heart. Even the fire that couldn't be suppressed after practicing the 9 arrows technique seemed to have calmed down a lot. Before coming back, Sun Ming helped her to suppress this overbearing fire, but Sun Ming probably underestimated the overbearing fire in her body. After a while, her palms began to burn again. It actually lasts longer than Uncle's suppression. How long can this last? She lowered her head and muttered. At the same time, the appearance of the school doctor that she had seen before subconsciously appeared in her mind. Red Child found that she couldn't remember the appearance of the new school doctor. Didn't she notice him at that time? Tomorrow. Let go again. After all, she had thrown away the ointment several times, but it still appeared again. This was very strange. Anyway, it was either a demon or an immortal spell. The new school doctor wasn't that simple. Flat Sky Building, 99th floor. The two female secretaries were twisting into a ball on the ground. Neodagwong looked at their performance thoughtfully. It really works, no matter what the person who had taken the blue pill said to the person who had taken the red pill. The person who had taken the red pill would obey. That docile appearance was exactly what Neodagwong had been longing for. As long as Iron Rakshasa took the pill, Mr. Luo is really a miracle-working doctor. Neodagwong suddenly jumped up with excitement. He almost wanted to ask the bodyguard group to go directly to Dr. Luo's clinic. Wait, don't rush. Old Neo quickly suppressed the impulse in his heart. Don't let him ask for too high a price. Let's keep him in suspense first. Anyway, it won't make a difference. Neodagwong chuckled, then slowly walked towards the two secretaries, who were gradually immersed in their roles. I, the brave Neodagwong, am going to have a kidney transplant. Bang! The huge noise appeared again, and Neodagwong instantly shrank into a ball again. He crawled under the office table with a face full of horror and hurriedly pressed a button. The floor-to-ceiling windows of the 99th floor and the heavy metal gates fell down one after another. Neodagwong's scream sounded at the same time. Black Star, protect me. Tomorrow. No, go and release those damn balloons for me now. Bang! Even though the metal gates fell down, the huge explosion sounded again at this time. It was as if another balloon had exploded. Is there an end to this? The numerous balloons in the forest park slowly dissipated and descended. At this time, on the balcony of a high-class villa far away, a beautiful woman in a white nightgown sneered and slowly put down the sniper rifle in her hand. Humph! Only scared a few times. Feels good. The beautiful woman slowly stretched and walked back to the room. This was not a bedroom, but a study. On the table, there were thick and heavy documents. As the chief executive of Flaming Cloud City, the things that she needed to deal with every day were simply impossible to finish. At this time, an old woman who looked like a nanny knocked on the door and entered. The beautiful woman raised her head and said, "What did you find?" "Miss, we didn't find anything." The old woman shook her head. Today, the person that the young master suddenly left the Flat Sky Building to meet, even after using all of our intelligence network, there was still no result. How is that possible? The beautiful woman frowned in surprise. The intelligence network that the old woman mentioned was not as simple as the relationships in Flaming Cloud City. She stood up, walked with her hands behind her back, and said in a deep voice, "With De Guang's personality, he basically won't leave the flat sky building unless it's a big matter, but he still came out. This person must be very important to De Guang. I don't care how many resources I have to use. You must find out the origin of this person." "I understand." Mississippi, the old woman nodded. "When necessary, I will contact the Dieting organization." "Okay." The beautiful woman nodded and then said, "By the way, have you found that vixen?" The old lady said helplessly, "Jade Face might have already left Firecloud City for the time being. However, our people discovered that she seems to be secretly in contact with a mysterious organization. Miss, I'll compile a copy of the information regarding this organization for you later." "As soon as possible." The beautiful woman snorted and said, "If we don't keep a close eye on that vixen, I don't know what kind of trouble she will cause." "Well, that's it. If there's nothing else, I'll continue to work." The old woman didn't leave immediately. Instead, after hesitating for a while, she lowered her head and whispered, "Miss Red Boy went to the Elysium world tonight. She saw Sun Ming. Sun Ming is back." The beautiful woman couldn't help but frown. "At this time? Do you want me to warn him?" The old woman said seriously. "What are you going to do?" The beautiful woman snorted and said, "Let someone beat him up to make me lose face? It's not like you don't know the origin of that damn monkey. If there's nothing, don't provoke him." "But Miss Red Boy, she's my child," the beautiful woman said indifferently. "Even if I have to discipline her, I'll discipline her myself. You can leave now." The old woman responded and left slowly. The beautiful woman stood alone for a moment and then sat back at the desk again, looking at the documents in her hand. It was just that she couldn't seem to calm down, so she simply flipped open the photo frame on the table and buried her head in work again. In the morning, Lady Nin bit a piece of bread with strawberry jam in a hurry and was about to go out with a handbag. "I'm going to work." To be honest, Nan Xiaonan had forgotten how many years she hadn't officially worked, and it was a painful teaching job. She actually planned to get up after 5 minutes of sleep. Then, she time-traveled to 2 hours later. "I'm also a powerful person who can control the flow of time. Be careful on the way." The shop. Well, outside the clinic, Miss Maid was leisurely sweeping the floor in front of the door. "Okay, ye miss." "Wait." She quickly ran back and blinked her eyes. Looking at Miss Maid, who was more like a wife every day, she was stunned. "Don't you and the boss need to go to school to work?" Miss Maid chuckled. "The school doctor's office opens at 9 o'clock in the morning, so don't worry." Nan Xiaonan scratched her head. "Is it like this?" "This is the entry condition of the master." Miss Maid smiled slightly. "Recently, the master has been sleeping late at night, so the time to get up will be slightly later." Could it be that he's been sharpening his sword every night? Nan Xiaonan knew, understood, and was going to get out. She was really going to be late. After cleaning the door, Ms. Maid returned to the shop. She came to the study and carefully prepared a sumptuous breakfast. Then, she stood there quietly. After a while, an old black notebook on the desk slowly opened, Book of Gaia. With the pages of Book of Gaia, a stream of light was projected, and Boss Luo's figure slowly appeared. In the past night, Boss Luo actually spent all his time in Book of Gaia. This time, there was no Nin Xiaonan or Metatro in the Book of Gaia. There were no other random candidates. He was the only one who was silently experiencing the different pages of the world. On the last unfinished page of the book, time still stopped. It stopped at the moment when he left. Boss Luo didn't intend to start the time of the unfinished page again at this time. He planned to walk through all the pages again. Taking a little time every day to experience, it would be enough for him to walk for a long time. "Breakfast." Miss Maid smiled and said immediately. Boss Luo directly walked down and chuckled. "I found a good place. Accompany me tonight. The scenery is good." "Okay." She walked to Boss Luo, put away Book of Gaia, and then stuffed it into the bookshelf at the side. End of this chapter. Chapter 2367. A new teacher wearing a business suit was running on the road with a piece of bread in her mouth. The only difference between her and a female high school student was her JK. There was no falling flat ground, no bread falling to the ground, and no chance encounter with Mr. Right. At the last moment, she rushed into the school gate and seemed to have knocked someone to the ground. There was no falling flat ground, but a piece of bread fell to the ground and stuck to the face of the person who was knocked down. "You're my F*** King, Mr. Right? You're from yesterday?" He was called Teacher Xiao. It was said to be a nickname. His real name was Li Jianren, a graduate of Firecloud High School more than 10 years ago. Because of employment difficulties and personal standards, he could only stay at Firecloud High School to teach. Currently, he was a sparring teacher for the actual combat class. That's right, he was the one Nan Xiaonan met yesterday. He was the one who was bullied by students and hung on the school gate. In the end, he accompanied Nan Xiaonan to be bombed. "So it was Wang Baiwan who spent a lot of money to treat you?" Nan Xiaonan looked at Teacher Xiao, who. She thought that Wang Baiwan was willing to spend a lot of money to save people, probably because his granddaughter, Wang Badan, was the one who buried the fire crystal bomb. "I'm sorry for implicating you on the first day." Teacher Xiao Hu sighed and cleaned the strawberry jam on his face bit by bit. "It was also Principal Wang who treated you, right?" "More or less," Nan Xiaonan casually replied. "By the way, why did those students treat you like that?" Teacher Xiao Hu sighed. "Maybe it's because I look easy to bully. Since I was young, I was always unlucky because of my appearance." Nan Xiaonan blinked her eyes. How should she put it? Li Jianren's facial features were actually very good-looking. His eyes, nose, mouth, and even cheeks were all very good-looking individually. But why? Why did she have a feeling of wanting to laugh at him after piecing them together? You were laughing, right?" Nan Xiaonan expressionlessly shook her head. "No, I'm not the kind of person who judges a book by its cover. These students are too much." Teacher Xiao Hu. Could it be that the school won't do anything about it? Ow! Teacher Xiao Hu sighed and said, "Most students follow the rules. Students who don't follow the rules are either from powerful families or they don't care about the school's punishment. If a student does something wrong, they can use the excuse that he is just a child, but if a teacher does something wrong, will anyone forgive him?" Nan Xiaonan rubbed her bangs and said, "If that's the case, have you ever thought about giving up this job and looking for a better one?" Teacher Xiao Hu shook his head and bitterly smiled. "It's hard to explain the employment rate of a sparring teacher like me. In any case, once the difficult students graduate, everything will be fine. The school won't really kill anyone and will always save them. You just have to get used to it." Nan Xiaonan blinked and said coldly, "Teacher Xiao Hu, do you want to change your current situation?" Teacher Xiao Hu asked curiously how. Nan Xiaonan said, "For example, the loser teacher counterattacked and taught the bad students a lesson, then gained the admiration of the female students, and finally defeated the evil Wang Baiwan, reaching the pinnacle of life. Isn't this more hot-blooded than Xiao Hu?" Teacher Xiao Hu opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but hesitated. Everything was possible in dreams. The bell for class suddenly rang, and he returned to reality. His eyes met with Nan Xiaonan. "What? It seems like class is about to start." "Yes, let's start class." Teacher Xiao Hu sighed and turned around. He hesitantly raised his head to look at the school building before taking a deep breath and walking over. Nan Xiaonan called out to him again. "Teacher Xiao Hu, if you are willing, you can look for me. Maybe I can help you." Class started. When she walked into Year 2 Class A, Nan Xiaonan was dumbfounded. It was true that she wanted to impart biological knowledge to the students of Grade 2 Class A, because Huiyin High School's biology grades had always been self-taught by the students. They definitely had a cram for it. It was also true that the task assigned to them was very heavy. However, why is every class from morning to afternoon a biology lesson? It's not today. It's the same arrangement for the next 2 weeks. The person who answered her was Teacher Qing Hu. "Teacher Xiao Hu, don't worry. For this, the other teachers will make way for you. That beautiful fox demon who had a plan to go to Green Hill City to find his roots during the summer vacation. What if my grades fall behind instead?" Nan Xiaonan could only struggle for a moment. "It won't fall behind." Teacher Qing Hu shook his head and said, The students of Year 2 Class A are all very outstanding. They have already learned the knowledge of other high school courses. It doesn't matter if there is a teacher or not. You can rest assured. This is the gifted class specially created by Hoi Yun High School. Oh. Nan Xiaonan nodded subconsciously. There seemed to be something wrong. She seemed to be a little confused at this time, and her eyes were a little misty. She only felt that Teacher Ching, whose eyes seemed to be much better. Go to class. Teacher Ching, whose voice became softer and softer, like a spring breeze. Nan Xiaonan nodded blankly. Under Teacher Ching, whose gaze, she slowly walked to the classroom of Year 2 Class A, but the moment she turned around, her eyes had returned to clarity. TSK. I was fascinated by such a pair of enchanting eyes. I can even resist the boss's electric eyes, okay? In front of the door of Year 2 Class A, Nan Xiaonan slightly tidied up her collar and pushed the door in with a bright smile. Students, good morning. Countless pairs of eyes that were filled with curiosity fell on her body. The kind of thirst for knowledge made Nan Xiaonan unable to help but be moved. She had spent the whole night reading the biology teaching materials of this world. It was similar to the high school biology course of the number 003 subworld, but a large part of the knowledge of the monster species was integrated into it. This was the development of the civilization of this world. Of course, it was impossible to finish reading it in one night. She was not like the boss who could cheat himself. Therefore, Nan Xiaonan decided to teach herself the familiar biology of human beings and the biology of monsters. Then she would find time to cram in. At least, she could fool the students. But according to the teaching task that Gao Yingao gave her, she was afraid that she would have to squeeze out some time. Students, Nan Xiaonan cleared her throat and said, because you haven't formally attended the biology class, I don't know where you are in the class. So for this class, I will start from the first class. I heard that you are in the gifted class, so I believe you should be able to keep up with my speed. If you don't understand something, you can ask me after class. Hey, today is biology class. Teacher, don't bother. A female student suddenly stood up at this time. We can recite these textbooks from the last word on the last page. You seem to be the class monitor? Nan Xiaonan nodded and said earnestly, rote memorization is not enough. The most important thing is to understand. For example, everyone understands the principle, but why can't many people do it? Another male student stood up at this time. Yes, teacher, we all understand the principle. So next, we have to trouble Teacher Nan. With this, the male student picked up a box from under the table and put it on the desk. The box should be heavy because it made a bang. Am I a teacher? My job is to teach you well. Nan Xiaonan couldn't help blinking. What's this? For this biology class, I have prepared this for a long time. The male student was a little excited at this time. Finally, it can be used. Students, this is our biology class. It's coming, it's coming. Bang, 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 bang. Bang. At this time, the students of Class A carried similar big boxes and put them on the desk in an imposing manner. Nan Xiaonan was shocked, looking at this group of students stupidly. At this time, the students opened the big boxes one after another. Scalpels, pliers, hammers, saw blades? What are you doing? Come on, Teacher Nan. At this moment, the female monitor walked over slowly with a small chainsaw in her hand. Mr. Yin Zhongzi once said in his autobiography that practice is the only standard to test the truth. If we want to test whether what we've learned from books is correct, please let us test it. Teacher, in addition to the 12 standard meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians, there are many unknown meridians in the human body. I must count them today. You can count the bones. I want to do a research on whether there are golden wheels in human muscles. Don't rob me. Uterus. Uterus is mine. I want to explore the mystery of the birth of life. You don't come over. She shuddered and retreated 2 steps, her body sticking to the blackboard. The students had already rushed to the front of the podium. Nan Xiaonan hugged her head and slowly squatted down, shivering. Above her head were all kinds of tools that were glowing with ominous light. At this moment, the door and windows of Grade 2 Class A's classroom were also slowly being closed by the metal gates. In the other corner of the teaching building, There was a noisy and messy little old man with glasses who was giving a lecture mechanically, minding his own business. Has already started? Red Boy withdrew her gaze from Class A and sneered. I don't know if they can survive half a day. Those lunatics, I can't do anything about them. Although the classroom was in a mess, only Red Boy and several seats around her were like a quiet little world. No one would take the initiative to offend the real princess of Huayun City. Whether it was Old Ox or Tai Luo Sha, any one of them could directly suppress the existence of all the families behind everyone here. At this time, Red Boy suddenly looked down at her palm. When she got up in the morning, she forgot to apply the burn ointment on her palm again. When she woke up, the effect of the burn ointment had disappeared a lot. Her palm regained the pain again, but after applying it again, the pain disappeared again. The duration of applying the ointment was about 6 to 8 hours. This had exceeded the effect of all the painkillers Red Boy had ever used before. None of the painkillers she had used before could last more than 2 hours. She suddenly stood up. The whole classroom suddenly became very quiet. The little old man also stopped his lecture and looked at Red Boy, who suddenly stood up in horror. Don't worry about me. I'll go out to get some fresh air. You can continue, Red Boy said indifferently. But after knowing that she had left the classroom, everyone was still quiet for more than 10 seconds before returning to the previous smoky atmosphere. Or it got worse. The little old man even put a helmet on his head at this time. Red Boy is coming. From afar, Red Boy heard someone scream. She couldn't help but frown. From afar, she saw more than 10 students squatting in front of the school doctor's office. At this time, it was a mess. When she arrived, they were already gone. She was silent for a moment, seemingly hesitating. According to her character, she would probably push the door and go in directly. But today, she had a certain amount of patience instead. She knocked on the door, 1 light, 2 heavy knocks. Then she took a step back and waited. No one. Almost a minute had passed, but there was no response. This made Red Boy lose her patience. She kicked the door of the school doctor's office open and went straight in. But there was really no one in the school doctor's office at this time. Red Boy walked to the table. The tidy table looked very comfortable at first glance. In the whole school doctor's office, there was not even a little smell of medicine, alcohol, disinfectant, and the like. There was even a faint fragrance. The fragrance was very special. It seemed to be the fragrance of the female nurse yesterday. The position of the floor that should have been corroded with a few small holes had been restored at this time. Red Boy slightly withdrew her gaze from the floor, and the confusion in her eyes grew stronger. 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, she began to shake her legs more and more frequently. In the end, Red Boy snorted coldly and directly opened the school doctor's work log. She turned to the latest page, took a pen, and scribbled something. Then she walked away. 9:00 sharp. The small door of the pharmacy warehouse in the school doctor's office opened slowly. Boss Luo and Miss Maid walked out one after another. Different from Nan Xiaonan, who had to rush to work, Boss Luo used the critical door. Boss Luo was able to reach the place of work as soon as he opened the door. It could achieve zero distance between work and improve the efficiency of work and the use of time. Boss Luo took this job very seriously. It seems that someone has been here. Miss Maid looked at the broken lock of the school doctor's office. There were even 2 footprints in front and behind the door. It seemed that the door had been burned by fire. Not only that, the whole school doctor's office was filled with a strong smell of disinfectant. Boss Luo chuckled and picked up the work log on the table. On the latest page, there was a big turtle and a cartoonish ghost face with its tongue sticking out. What's written? Miss Maid asked curiously. Boss Luo raised the work log and said casually, Probably I've been waiting for a long time, bastard, something like that. It seems that the burn ointment works well. Miss Maid chuckled. At this time. Is anyone here? At this time, Nan Xiaonan cautiously pushed open the door and entered. She even supported a female student whose whole body was covered in blood. Her arm was also broken and naturally hanging down. She walked in. Nan Xiaonan said seriously, Mr. School Doctor, please help me check this student. She was beaten up by me. Besides, there's a row of people waiting outside. In the corridor of the school doctor's office, the students of Class A of Grade 2 were all here, lying down. What happened? Teacher Ching, who looked at the door of Class A of Grade 2 in shock. There was a terrible big hole in the door. Blood splashed on the wall inside like a slaughterhouse, but there was no one inside. End of this chapter. Chapter 2368. This was an extremely evil event that happened in the history of Huayan High School. More than 30 students were on the verge of death, 5 were seriously injured, and 3 were severely mentally damaged. They could only keep repeating, a normal person has 206 bones. A normal person has 206 bones. I need an explanation. In the principal's office, Wang Baiwan and his son were mixed doubles. The rich owner was punching the table more than 10 times. I'm in class. Opposite them, Nan Xiaonan was waiting with her legs crossed. The infinite scenery in her dress was well covered in a dark shadow. You almost killed all the students in the class. The rich director's voice was trembling. His face was pale. Half of it was because of anger, and the other half was because of fear. Is there anyone who teaches like this? Students could be seriously injured on the foreign battlefield, but they absolutely couldn't be beaten by teachers on campus. Huayan High School, which already had a bad reputation, would probably take a big step on the road of Blue Top 100 to Blue Top 10. This is a practical class. Lady Nin shrugged and said, obviously, the effect of this class is very good. Not only did it grasp the classroom discipline, but it also consolidated the knowledge of the students. As a biology teacher, I practice what I preach and let the students remember how many bones they have. It even reached the level of conditioned reflex. I feel that this is a successful teaching. In Principal, Director, I think I can apply for Huayan High School's 10 Excellence Teacher this year. You mother asterisk her. The rich director opened his mouth. Director, you said vulgar words. Lady Nan's eyes instantly condensed. Director, I didn't. The rich director punched the table again. Presumptuous. At this moment, Wang Baiwan knocked the table slightly harder. Enough. Do you think I'm not annoying enough? Teacher Xiaonan, you go out first. I think it's not suitable for you to continue the class today. Just stay in the office. As for your punishment, the school will send a notice later. You can go back and wait for the notice. Just like that? The rich director looked at Wang Baiwan puzzledly. Otherwise, Wang Jufu rubbed his forehead and said, Punish her? Did you forget where she got the recommendation letter from? Niodog Wang is Fire Cloud Heights' biggest shareholder. This matter is difficult to handle. Wang Jufu sighed. We spent a lot of effort to create the second-year Class A, and the purpose was to increase the cutoff score of Huayan High School. This is great. Although the physical injury can be cured, what about the psychological trauma? There were still several competitions that required Year 2 Class A to participate in. If they couldn't get a place in these competitions, they would have to wait to become the real Top 10 Blue Academy at the end of this year's university selection. You might become the first headmaster of the 10 greats in the history of Flame Cloud High School. Wang Baiwan pondered for a while with a gloomy face. How are the injuries of the second-year Class A students? Wang Jufu said, I got Qinghu to go to the school doctor's office to take a look. He just sent me a message saying that the students' injuries are basically stabilized and they're all awake. The new school doctor's medical skills are surprisingly good. Wang Baiwan was stunned. Don't we need to contact the hospital? Wang Jufu said. Looking at Qinghu's meaning, it seems that there is no need. The school doctor's office can solve it. Wang Baiwan sighed and said, For this matter, you should talk to the second-year Class A students one by one. Tell them that it's best not to spread it, and don't tell their families. Although these poor students have no power at home, they will cause trouble when there are more of them. Once they cause trouble, Huayan City's authorities will pay attention to them. At this moment, the relationship between Niodog Wang and Tai Luosha is like fire and water. Maybe Tai Luosha will have something on him. If she personally goes to tear Niodog Wang apart, the ones who will take the blame in the end can only be you and me. Wang Jufu nodded and said, Don't worry, I will let Qinghu do it. Soon, they will forget what happened today. Remember, nothing happened today. Wang Baiwan said sternly. Wang Jufu said goodbye and planned to get busy. Before going out, he suddenly frowned and said, "Dad, when you went out in the morning, did you see Badan?" Wang Baiwan frowned. "Didn't you see her?" Wang Jufu said, "The teacher in her class said that she wasn't there during the roll call in the morning." "I didn't see her either." Wang Baiwan shook his head. "This girl, ever since she got together with Red Boy, I will go and communicate with the second-year Class A students first." Wang Jufu shook his head and left the principal's office with a worried expression. Inside the school doctor's office, in the end, there was only one student left with a broken hand and foot. He kept muttering, "A normal human has a total of 206 bones." Dr. Luo's technology was very good. These technologies were all downloaded with real money and used a high-speed download channel. They could be used after downloading, just like an old doctor who had been in the industry for decades. Fractures were easy to deal with, but mental disorders were a bit troublesome. A total of 206 bones. Do you know that a newborn baby can have more than 300 bones? A normal human has a total of 206 bones. No, why is it more than 300 bones? The student with a broken hand and foot on the hospital bed couldn't help but stare blankly. Then the sharp pain of the bones connecting made him directly scream like a pig being slaughtered. The pain made his face pale, but after the pain, he hurriedly asked, "Why is it more than 300 bones?" Dr. Luo smiled slightly and said, "This is because the newborn skeleton contains a mixture of many bones and cartilage. These cartilage mixtures will fuse over time to form larger bones. By adulthood, the total number of bones will be reduced to 206 bones." "Is that so?" The student with a broken hand showed a thoughtful expression. At this time, Dr. Luo once again connected the other broken arm of the student, and another scream sounded. At this moment, the curtain outside the bed opened. Teacher Ching, who walked in and smiled, "I don't know how many bones a normal newborn monster has." Dr. Luo said casually, "There are many types of monsters, so there is no unified general theory. However, if you want to know how many bones you have, I can provide you with equipment here." "It sounds scary." Teacher Ching, who blinked and immediately chuckled, "How are the students?" "The basic treatment is over." Dr. Luo said, "They should be fine after resting for a day or two." Teacher Ching, who sighed, "What amazing medical skills. I have basically seen their injuries. Even if they were sent to Fire Cloud First General Hospital, they probably wouldn't be treated as well and quickly as you. From the looks of it, we have picked up a treasure." Dr. Luo smiled, but didn't say anything. Teacher Ching, who suddenly said with a faint smile, "I heard that in order to reduce the casualty rate of the battle teams in the extraterritorial battlefield, Songland's Ministry of Education has proposed that the battle teams of high schools can add a doctor on the battlefield to facilitate the timely treatment of the injured. Who knows, Dr. Luo, you might shine in the extraterritorial battlefield in the future. Speaking of which, don't tell me you just happened to join Fire Cloud High School because of this news." "Thank you for telling me, Teacher Chinghu." Dr. Luo smiled and said, "I think this information is very useful to me." Teacher Ching, who shrugged and then pointed at the student with a fracture on the bed and said, "Can I talk to him alone? It's mainly to understand what happened in class. Please forgive me for my work." "Go ahead." He took the medical tools and left the bed. He even considerately closed the curtains around Ching Hu. A strange look flashed across Ching Hu's eyes. Then he pulled the chair close to the bed and slowly sat down. After Ching Hu appeared, the student with a fracture stopped screaming. He avoided Ching Hu's gaze. When Ching Hu sat down, he even shrunk his body and hugged the blanket tighter. Teacher Ching Hu smiled and said, "It's fine. We're just casually chatting. What should we chat about?" The student with a fracture subconsciously bit his lips, and his body seemed to tremble a few times. A strange purple light gradually appeared in Ching Hu's eyes. His voice sounded gently. "Do you still remember what 1,000 minus 7 equals?" Basically, the students of grade 2 class were able to get off the bed and walk around. The treatment took a total of one morning. Because there would be an extraterritorial battle in the afternoon, a large number of injured people would come in after school. Therefore, the school clinic was quickly emptied. The students of grade two class, they supported each other and left one after another under the guidance of teacher Ching Hu. It was said that they were going to hold an emergency class meeting. It was chaired by the head of the teaching office, Wang Jufu. Dr. Luo and Nurse Yu watched the group of students leave. Then, they returned to the clinic. Nurse Yu said casually, "The students of this class are very obedient." Dr. Luo smiled faintly and said, "Teachers all like good children. Where's the teacher?" Nurse Yu narrowed her eyes. At this moment, the sound of knocking came from the door. "Please come in." A face full of bruises carefully peeked in. Even without these bruises, it was still a face that was hard to describe. The person who came in was quite muscular. It was Teacher Xiao, whose full name was Li Jianren. "You are?" "Hello. Hello. I'm Li Jianren, also a teacher of Huayin High School. Well, a sparring teacher. You can call me Teacher Xiao Hu. I've asked around. You're the new school doctor and nurse." Teacher Xiao Hu quickly entered the clinic, only to find that not only his face was bruised, but his clothes were also torn in many places. Some of them were even bleeding. "Oh, how did you get hurt?" Nurse Yu covered her mouth in surprise. "Come in, I'll clean your wounds." "No, no need." Teacher Xiao Hu shook his head. "I've actually been here for quite some time, but I didn't dare to disturb you all when I saw that you were busy. Can you give me some disinfectant and gauze? I'll deal with the wound myself." Nurse Yu said, "If you don't deal with the wounds properly, it'll be easy to get infected." Teacher Xiao Hu said, "I think I'm quite skilled in dealing with wounds." "Well, please give me some disinfectant and gauze. I can't stay here for too long." Nurse Yu glanced at Dr. Luo subconsciously. Dr. Luo thought for a while and said, "Give them to him." Nurse Yu nodded and went in. Dr. Luo looked at Teacher Xiao Hu and asked casually, "How did you get hurt?" "I accidentally fell down from the stairs." Teacher Xiao Hu lowered his head absent-mindedly and didn't know where to look. He was quite anxious and quite uneasy. Soon, Nurse Yu gave some necessities to Teacher Xiao Hu. After receiving them, he bowed his head and said thank you, then left in a hurry. He came in quietly, but left carefully. Dr. Luo, Boss Luo, didn't say anything. He just smiled casually. "It's lunch break. Let's go back and eat." The door of the pharmacy was opened and closed. Boss Luo directly carried the servant girl who was still wearing the nurse uniform upstairs. Lunchtime. Bang! The door of the school doctor's office was kicked open again. Red Child wrinkled her nose. She smelled that peculiar fragrance again. There was no smell of disinfectant at all. Red Child looked around the school doctor's office with a pair of dead fish eyes. "Not here again." Bang! She kicked the door again after going out. Then she left. In a corner of Huayun City, all kinds of pedestrians were gathered in front of an alley, pointing. Soon, several flying cars of the Huayun City Police Station landed in the sky. There were already patrolling policemen at the scene, and 2 policemen were stationed at the entrance of the alley. At this time, on one of the flying cars of the Huayun City Police Station, a middle-aged man with a big belly wearing a khaki windbreaker moved out of the car while pressing his hat on his head. "Officer Ma." The 2 patrolling policemen quickly saluted Officer Ma. Officer Ma slightly nodded. He then lifted the cordon and walked into the depth of the alley with his colleagues. Before Officer Ma arrived, other staff members had already arrived. They were mainly responsible for the collection work. At this time, on the ground in the depths of the alley, something was covered with a white cloth. Officer Ma frowned and looked at the end of the alley, only to see blood splashing on the surrounding walls. There was also a series of bloody handprints on the ground, which were crawled out. Officer Ma lifted the white cloth covering the body. In front of him was the body of a young girl, who should have been quite beautiful when she was alive. However, the girl's mouth was full of blood, and her tongue had been cut off. "Who is so cruel?" Officer Ma frowned. However, the forensic officer who came to collect evidence said coldly, "Sir Ma, is this cruel? You can talk about it after you see the whole thing." Officer Ma was stunned. He frowned and lifted the whole piece of white cloth. Then he took a deep breath. The girl's body. The girl's hands and feet were cruelly cut off. Moreover, the murderer also swapped her hands and feet and sewed them back together. making the girl's body look like a freak at this moment. Pervert! Officer Ma took a deep breath and subconsciously covered the body with the cloth. Have you found out the identity of the victim? We found a wallet beside the body. A policeman handed a silver wallet to Officer Ma. Officer Ma opened the wallet and looked at the name on the citizen's ID. Baden? Chapter 2369. How could this be? In the morgue, looking at the cold and strange corpse on the table, Wang Jufu instantly fell to the ground powerlessly. Wang Baiwan on the side also staggered. Silence. Although the identity of the deceased had been verified through the documents, the family still had to be notified. This was probably their most vulnerable and powerless time. Officer Ma sighed. He withdrew his gaze from the small window on the door, sighed, sat on the stool next to him, and silently lit a cigarette. The next thing he could do was to find the murderer as soon as possible, in addition to waiting for Wang Baiwan and his son to come out and say sorry. The weather in Huiyun City was not very good today. This is a provocation to the law enforcement officers, Officer Ma said slowly. The subordinate on the side looked at Officer Ma in amazement. Provocation? Officer Ma seemed to be explaining, but also seemed to be talking to himself. The place where the body was found is the scene of the first murder. The murderer didn't even bother to clean up the traces. The deceased's wallet was casually thrown aside. The murderer didn't destroy the evidence, which means that the murderer really wants people to know about this matter. At this time, Wang Baiwan walked out with a gloomy face. This afternoon, he should have been hiding in the office leisurely as usual, waiting for 3:30 p.m. to have a cup of tea and then get off work. Although the start of this morning was not very smooth, under the superb medical skills of the new school doctor, the students of class, they were fine. The dispatch Ching, who also dealt with the aftermath very well. Wang Baiwan never thought that he would receive such bad news. Officer, do you want me to make a statement? Wang Baiwan looked at Officer Ma at this time with a pale and expressionless face. You can actually... Officer Ma subconsciously opened his mouth, but he quickly understood the meaning of Wang Baiwan's eyesight. This was an angry and hateful gaze. Principal Wang, we need your help. After investigating the identity of the deceased, Wang Badan, the identity of Wang Baiwan was also found to be the principal of Huiyun High School. The deceased this time was not an ordinary person. Principal Huiyun High School's influence was undoubtedly huge. Not to mention others, many people in the Huiyun City Police Headquarters were from Huiyun High School. Even the current bureau chief was a student of Huiyun High School. He was once a student of Wang Baiwan. Thinking about the pressure on his body, Officer Ma had a headache. I will do my best to assist you, Wang Baiwan faintly said. However, I hope that you will not disturb my son, Ju Fu, for the time being. Officer Ma nodded. Principal Wang, please follow me. In a small room, Officer Ma personally poured a cup of tea. Principal Wang, the longer this matter drags on, the more clues will disappear. Let's get straight to the point. Officer Ma sat down. According to our preliminary understanding, before the incident happened, you had already noticed that the victim had disappeared, right? Wang Baiwan nodded and said, now that I think about it, Ba Dan has indeed disappeared since the morning. Officer Ma frowned and said, didn't you suspect it at the time? Wang Baiwan said, my granddaughter is relatively independent and has a certain ability to protect herself. Besides, Ba Dan quarreled with Ju Fu last night, so we thought it was an accident at the beginning. She just avoided us. Quarreled? Why did they quarrel? Because of something that happened at school, Wang Baiwan said indifferently. Officer Ma, this is our family matter. It has nothing to do with this case. You can ask something else. Officer Ma frowned again. He felt that the initiative was no longer in his hands, but the identity of the other party really made him helpless. Not to mention other things, at this moment, the police station's boss was in the next room, watching the entire scene of the recording. Principal Wang, did your granddaughter have any grudges with anyone? No, Ba Dan was a very well-behaved child. She had a good relationship with everyone. Officer Ma cursed in his heart. What kind of character was Huiyun Gao? All the homeless people in Huiyun City knew. As for the deeds of the deceased Wang Baiwan, there was no need for a special investigation. There was a lot of black material just by searching. The little devil of Hua Yun-gao. In just the past 2 months, there were 3 complaints against her. They were all violent incidents, but in the end, the complaints were withdrawn. It was outrageous that a student who would place a fire crystal bomb at the school gate and seriously injure a school teacher could still be well-behaved. There was basically no useful information in this recording. Wang Baiwan seemed to be cooperative, but there was almost nothing that he could really provide. Wang Baiwan and his son quickly left the Huayun police station. Officer Ma threw a useless recording on the table. He felt that he had wasted a few hours. "Sir Ma, we found something." The subordinate hurriedly ran into his office at this time. "We found the whereabouts of the deceased." "Say it." "There are witnesses who said that they saw the deceased last night." The subordinate put a document and a stack of photos in front of Officer Ma. He picked it up and glanced at it quickly. He couldn't help but frown. "This is the reverse 5 elements. Yes, this was sent by the Ministry of Transportation. The illegal photos taken last night. This is going to be fun." Officer Ma couldn't help but rub his pancake-like wide face. "What should I do? Invite her back?" Sir Ma smiled bitterly. The word invite is used well. "So, who can tell me how to invite the nominal and actual princess of Huayun City back?" "Sir Ma, we are handling a case normally," the subordinate said seriously. "Even if she is really a princess, we should cooperate. Don't bow to the strong." "Good guy." Sir Ma sighed as if he was comforted. "Well, you go and invite the princess of Huayun back." "Me by myself? Do you want me to go with you?" Officer Ma blinked his eyes. "She is just a female high school student. You are a man. What are you afraid of?" Suddenly, with a loud noise, the door of Officer Ma's office was kicked open. At the same time, a girl with a gloomy face walked straight in. Behind the girl, a policewoman said helplessly, "Officer Ma, I'm sorry we couldn't stop this lady." "Red boy." Officer Ma straightened his back. He didn't talk about kicking the door because it was bound to involve the problem of family education. Generally speaking, without family education, parents had to be the scapegoat. How could he say it? Officer Ma's authority was given by his superior, and his superior's authority was given by Tai Luo Sha. Officer Ma's salary was paid by the government of Huayun City. Most of the money of the government was paid by Niu Dawang. How could he deal with this? "Miss Redchild, thank you for your cooperation this time." Officer Ma calmed himself down and showed a smile that he considered to be the kindest one. "Don't talk nonsense." Red boy frowned. "I want to participate in this investigation. It's my classmate who died. I can't ignore it. This seems to be against the rules." Officer Ma picked up his handkerchief and wiped his forehead. "Your director agreed." Red boy said indifferently, "Just now." Officer Ma subconsciously looked at the helpless policewoman outside the door. This lady just came out of the director's office." The policewoman nodded. "Besides, she also kicked the door. Old Lu is such a coward." Officer Ma cursed in his heart, but he quickly calmed down and thought for a while. "Miss Red Boy, we haven't contacted you yet, and this matter hasn't been reported. But you're already here. Did Wang Baiwan inform you?" "What are you talking about?" Red Boy frowned. "The whole Huayun High School knows about this." "What?" Indeed, the whole Huayun High School knew that a student was brutally killed because a set of photos was uploaded to the school network shortly after Wang Baiwan and his son were notified to go to the Huayun City Police Station. Everyone could see it. The whole Huayun High School lost its usual liveliness because the photos were a complete picture of the deceased. There were photos of her before and after death, and there was even a high-definition photo of the deceased's hands and feet being stitched together. Currently, the entire Fire Cloud High School was discussing this matter, but hadn't completely spread yet. Thus, while the high school teams were still in the middle of the foreign battlefield's ranking competition, many students had hurriedly rushed to the teleportation gate to the foreign battlefield after learning of this matter. The discussion could only be carried out blindly in the foreign battlefield. To some extent, this can be said to be a work of art. A strange voice sounded in the office, which made several teachers who didn't have classes in the afternoon subconsciously look in the same direction. That was the seat of the new biology teacher. "Teacher Xiaonan, what did you say just now?" Nothing, I just try to look at this matter from the perspective of the murderer. How should she put it? Although she was more of the witch who walked in the void, there was a small part of the real Nan Xiaonan's memory in her mental world. And the real Nan Xiaonan was engaged in forensic work. It was probably a remnant instinct. Not to mention, when she saw the photo of Wang Badan's corpse, she even had the impulse to cut it open with a knife. Thinking about it, her hands really itched. However, she was a newcomer. The next day, she had just beaten up the entire Class A. The teachers who were acquainted with her could only slightly avoid her. Nan Xiaonan shrugged and directly walked out of the office. When there were no classes in the afternoon, the teachers were similar to the old cadres. These teachers who didn't have to go to the foreign battlefield were almost in the mode of slacking off and waiting to get off work. The school doctor's office. There was a knock on the door. "Please come in." Then a hand holding a small box reached in first, followed by a head. Nan Xiaonan blinked and said with a smile, "Afternoon tea?" The small box contained some snacks that were packed by the school cafeteria and lemon tea. The few of them sipped on their lemon tea as they discussed the murder case. "Boss, do you know who the murderer is?" Nan Xiaonan asked with a lazy expression. "I don't know yet." Boss Luo blinked and lightly shook his head. Nan Xiaonan looked at Boss Luo in disbelief. She didn't believe it. Boss Luo smiled and said, "Lady Nan, you seem to be very interested in this matter." Nan Xiaonan shrugged and said, "It's a student from this school who got into trouble, so I'm just a little concerned. Besides, according to this morning's pace, the school probably won't arrange for me to teach the students of Grade 2 Class A for a while. I'm free anyway." "So," Boss Luo said, "you're interested in investigating?" Nan Xiaonan nodded. Compared to beating up children, investigating a murder case was obviously more stressful. Although beating up children was also stressful, it was too much to do this kind of thing once in a while. She decided once a week. Boss Luo thought for a while and said, "Lady Nan, your private time belongs to you." Nan Xiaonan almost believed it. "My F***king whole body, inside and outside. Which part of it isn't yours? What kind of private time can I have, ah?" "Thank you, boss." Nan Xiaonan was overjoyed and quickly showed a big smile. "Thank you, Miss Yu Yi." "Miss Maid?" That's about it. The special investigation team was formed in almost half an hour. It used the temporary headquarters and the largest conference room in the Hua Yunhai police station. All the resources were prioritized for this investigation. Red Boy sat directly at the head of the crowd, crossing her arms and saying, "What else do you want to ask?" Officer Ma looked at his colleagues around. His throat was a little dry. Among the people sitting here, except for him, the one with the lowest position was one level higher than him. "Miss Red Boy, according to what you said, you didn't contact the victim after parting with him in the Elysium world last night." Officer Ma thought for a while and said, "May I ask, you went there together. Why did you leave first?" Red Boy frowned and was about to speak. She felt that this question was not a problem and could be explained, so she was about to explain. Unexpectedly, the conference table was slammed heavily. "Old Ma, what kind of question is this? With my more than 30 years of experience, are you suspecting Miss Red Boy?" "That's right." Another person, who had 2 more bars on his shoulder than Officer Ma, snorted, "Old Ma, I know you are anxious to solve the case, but you are too anxious to solve the case. Even I, the father of criminal investigation, can't stand it. With my more than 40 years of experience as the father of criminal investigation, Miss Red Boy has no problem." "Well said." "With my more than 50 years of experience and the vision of the winner of the Luo Cha Flower Medal in Huiyun City, this colleague with only 40 years of experience is right. F***K. This year's leaders are the most difficult to manage." Officer Ma shrugged. "I have no more questions. Start the investigation. I will go and investigate. You continue the meeting. If there are any new clues, I will send them back for you to study. Go." The bureau chief nodded and said seriously, "Pay attention to the impact. Try not to panic the citizens." Everyone smiled and watched Officer Ma leave. The bureau chief looked at Red Boy. "Miss Red Boy, I think you are thirsty. I have asked someone to prepare some." "And where are they?" "Outside the police station." His subordinates had already prepared the car. Officer Ma opened the door and sat in the front passenger seat with a gloomy face. "Let's go." "Sir, where are we now?" the subordinate asked subconsciously. "To the Elysium world." It was not Officer Ma's voice, but a girl's voice. Officer Ma turned around as if he had seen a ghost. He looked at the back seat. The princess of Huiyun City in name and in reality. End of chapter. Chapter 2370. The Elysium, which was not open for business, looked very desolate. The chairs were messy, and the floor was full of various bottle caps and cigarette butts that had not been cleaned up. There were even used strange small condoms. The air was full of an indescribable smell. If the air conditioner was not turned on in this kind of place, the air quality was usually hard to describe. Officer Ma and his subordinates, as well as Red Boy, the princess of Flaming Cloud City, had been waiting in the lobby for almost 15 minutes. Only a drunk man yawned and sat aside to watch. At this time, Sun Ming, the boss of the Elysium's Flaming Cloud City shop, came late. Sun Ming did not come alone. At this moment, he even hugged two female monsters, talking and laughing. Red Boy habitually called unscrupulous women female monsters. No matter whether they were human or monsters, they were monsters anyway. "Sorry, I haven't woken up yet. Please wait a minute." Sun Ming sat down directly, then wrinkled his nose and sprinkled some pinkish-green powder on the table. He scraped the powder neatly with a card, and then took a paper tube rolled with banknotes from his female companion's hand. Red Boy frowned and looked at him all the time, but did not say anything. Although taking this kind of thing was harmful to the body, with the strong physique of the monster, the toxicity could be eliminated quickly. Soon, Sun Ming was still a particularly powerful monster. Even if the dosage was 10 times greater and he ate it like a meal, it would not harm his body at all. But the subordinates who came with Officer Ma could not bear to see him taking prohibited substances so openly. Although it was not a new thing for the monsters in the Blue Heaven to take prohibited substances, there had never been any law supporting this behavior. He was about to scold, but Officer Ma stopped him at this time. Officer Ma signaled to the subordinate who had just joined the company, but still had dreams and drive, to calm down. He then turned to look at Sun Ming and said, "Mr. Sun, I believe you should know why we are here." Before Officer Ma finished speaking, Red Boy on the side directly came down and frowned. "Uncle, after I left last night, what happened to Ba Dan here? Why was she killed so cruelly?" "Uncle?" Sir Ma suddenly raised his eyebrows. With the intelligence of the Huiyun police station, how could they not know the relationship between Sun Ming and Red Boy? However, the Pure Land of Bliss had always been mysterious. It could be found in all the big and small cities in Azure Blue, but until now, no one knew the details of this place. Sun Ming, the owner of Elysium's Fire Cloud shop, had always been very low-key and mysterious. However, one thing was for sure. Since the opening of Elysium World's Fire Cloud shop, nothing troublesome had ever happened. Sun Ming slowly heaved a sigh of relief. After taking the contraband, Sun Ming seemed to wake up all of a sudden. He wiped his monkey face and said, "Red Boy, I'm very sorry about what happened to your classmate. I will find a way to find out and give you an explanation." "Yes." Red Boy nodded. "I believe you, but I still want to know what happened to Ba Dan last night." "Hey, I'm still here. I'm the police of Huiyun." Sun Ming said something unpleasant had happened, but it was just two shameless guys. They saw your classmate was alone and wanted to harass her. This kind of thing often happens. But when my staff found out, they taught those two guys a lesson. Your classmate left soon after, and I sent someone to send her away. "But why to Ba Dan?" Sun Ming waved his hand at this time, and two strong men brought out a man with a bad face. "This is the person responsible for sending Ba Dan away. You can ask him directly if you have any questions." The man who was brought out obviously knew or already knew Red Boy's identity. At this time, he knelt on the ground in horror and said in horror, "Miss Red Boy, it's not me. I didn't kill your friend. It's really not me. Spare me. Spare me. F***CK. I'm still here. I'm Officer Ma of Huiyun's evil nemesis. Mo Luo Sha. No one wants to kill you. We just want to ask you about what happened last night. Why are you shouting? One of the strong men who brought Emoluo Shah directly patted Emoluo Shah's head and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Miss Red Boy. This guy was too high when he was found." Emoluo Shah, "Well, why don't you confess? If you dare to lie, no one can save you." Emoluo Shah had to say in a trembling voice, Last night, the boss asked me to send a lady away. After I took her away from the street, I had something urgent, so I called a taxi. I saw her get on the car with my own eyes, and then I came here. Really, she was still alive when she got on the car. If you don't believe me, you can go to the taxi driver. He can prove it. What's the license plate? Officer Ma finally found a chance to prove his existence. He sat with his arms crossed in front of his chest, looking extraordinary. I don't know. Emoluo Shah was obviously anxious. Who has time to remember the license plate? Officer Ma frowned, then lowered his head and ordered his subordinate, call the Ministry of Transportation and ask them to find this taxi as soon as possible. Bang! But at this time, Emoluo Shah's head was hit by a wine bottle. The whole bottle was smashed into pieces, and Emoluo Shah directly fell to the ground. The two men who brought him started a fight with their fists and feet. "What are you doing?" The hot-blooded subordinate suddenly stood up angrily. Sun Ming looked at him with a smile. "This is my man. My man made a mistake, so I'm enforcing the family law. What's wrong with that? You're using private punishment." The hot-blooded subordinate's eyes narrowed. Sun Ming leaned on the chair leisurely, hugging the two female monsters, and said casually, "Your boss didn't say anything, right, Mr. Officer? You King know that I'm here." Officer Ma patted the hot-blooded subordinate's shoulder at this time, pressed him down, and said lightly, "Don't kill him. I don't want to care about this kind of trivial matter." "Sure enough, an old horse knows the way," Sun Ming said with a smile. "Next time, it's free of charge." Officer Ma said indifferently, "This Emoluo Shah, we're going to take him back for questioning." Sun Ming didn't say anything, just glanced at Red Boy, but Red Boy nodded and said directly, "I'm going to take him." Sun Ming waved his hand this time, and the two men stopped. However, the Emoluo trident was already like mud, half dead. Sun Ming said casually, "You can take whoever you want, as long as you like." I still have the same words, although the accident didn't happen here. After all, it's my man who did things carelessly. I'll give you an explanation. We'll be leaving first. Red Boy stood up and walked straight out. Seeing this, Officer Ma quickly asked his hot-blooded subordinate to help Emoluo Shah up and left quickly. "Boss, Emoluo Shah didn't lie, right?" After everyone left, Sun Ming was still sitting in the hall with his eyes half closed. "You know what to do. The person who died is my naughty little niece's friend. Go ask around in the underworld and find out who the murderer is. We know what to do. Don't worry, boss." Sun Ming stretched and hugged the two female demons. "I'm getting up, and I'm very angry. Calm me down." In the car, Officer Ma drove this time, and Red Boy sat in the front passenger seat. His hot-blooded subordinate took care of the half-dead Emoluo Shah in the back seat. "Safety. Take what?" Officer Ma opened his mouth, but saw Red Boy glancing at him with a blank face, so he had to swallow his words. This was the master who could drive the reverse 5 elements over Huiyun City. If someone dared to issue a ticket, the ticket would be several kilograms heavy. Red Boy asked suddenly, "You seem to know Sun Ming?" The hot-blooded subordinate in the back seat suddenly pricked up his ears. In fact, he also had some doubts in his heart. Sun Ming's words seemed to have something to do with Officer Ma. "I've investigated the Elysium Bar a little before, and I've been here several times." Officer Ma said indifferently, "It's not strange to know Sun Ming. With the reputation of the Elysium Bar, it's strange not to know it. The Elysium Bar has branches in many capital cities. Although the topic has decreased in recent years, the law enforcement department of each capital city will not ignore its existence." Red Boy blinked. "You seem to know a lot about the Elysium Bar?" Officer Ma said, "The most mysterious gang in Kanglin is also called the Elysium Bar." Red Boy showed a surprised look. Obviously, she didn't know this. "Let's go back first." She thought for a while and said, "Find the taxi driver as soon as possible. By the way, is it okay to work overtime tonight?" According to the labor law, I'll pay you 3 times the overtime pay. Officer Ma and the hot-blooded subordinate looked at each other subconsciously. Wow. The setting sun, the burning clouds. On the playground of Firecloud High School, a huge light door slowly opened, and the students of Firecloud High School walked out with gray heads and faces. Compared to yesterday, they were obviously more embarrassed. On today's battlefield, because of the absence of the general of Firecloud High School, Red Boy, the team of Firecloud High School was crazily suppressed in the top, middle, and bottom, and even their home was successfully attacked. Complete defeat. In front of the school doctor's office, there was a long queue. Treating the injured students was actually a very good way to understand the extraterritorial battlefield. Even if one student only said a little, the more students there were, the more information there would be. What was the most important thing? Most importantly, these were all free. She couldn't just freeload. Oh, today's opponent is the Sea Dragon Palace. Dr. Luo was sewing up a student's wound. Is it very powerful? It's not a good fight. The student sighed and said, Firecloud High School has always been mainly using fire attribute weapons. We like these things with great firepower. But the Sea Dragon Palace's great techniques are too sinister. They're all control methods, and it's very uncomfortable when they fight. If it wasn't for Big Sister Red Boy not being on stage today, at least the base wouldn't have been attacked. Dr. Luo smiled and said, You seem to trust her a lot. Isn't that so? The student nodded and said, Big Sister Red Boy's prestige was fought for by herself. At first, we didn't know her identity. Later, after her identity was exposed, there was no way to go back to the way it was before. Those of us in the same batch as her are still fine. When we meet, even if we can't say a few words, we can still nod our heads. But the new students who entered later couldn't do so. They were directly frightened by Big Sister Red Boy's identity. I guess their families had said something to them. Later, after Big Sister Red Boy taught a few insensible new students a lesson, there were rumors among the new students that she relied on her family's background to act tyrannically in Firecloud High School. Her reputation inexplicably became worse and worse. All right, the wound has been bandaged. Dr. Luo smiled and said, Try not to touch it with water. I've applied medicine for you. The wound will heal tomorrow, but try not to do any strenuous exercise for the next 2 days. Fortunately, this week's battle is over. The student nodded and said, I can rest for 2 days. Doctor, are you free this weekend? There's usually no one at home during the weekend. I don't go out during the weekend. Dr. Luo smiled and said, Next. The student went out with a little disappointment. Then, the next person came in. It wasn't a student, but Teacher Ching Hu. Nurse Yi stopped what she was doing and looked curiously at this beautiful male fox. Teacher Ching Hu said, There are no more injured people outside. Is there something you need from me? Dr. Luo asked. Teacher Ching Hu said, Regarding the matter I told you before, the school's battle strategy committee has decided. Dr. Luo, from next week onwards, you will follow the team into the extraterrestrial battlefield. Dr. Luo said, So urgent? Teacher Ching Hu said, The score for today's battle was too low and we lost too badly. Most of the time, it was because the students' endurance during the battle was too low. The battle strategy committee thought that if there was a doctor accompanying the team, it would be able to increase the endurance. Dr. Luo shook his head and said, Since I can enter the battlefield, other universities will also send doctors. The conditions for both sides haven't changed. Teacher Ching Hu smiled bitterly and said, There's no choice. If you don't enter the battlefield, the doctors from other universities will also enter the battlefield. This will only widen the gap. Everyone knows that if the battle team is equipped with doctors, it will only make the battle more intense. But the reality is that you can't not get involved. You can't just admit defeat after entering the battlefield. Don't worry, after entering the battlefield, the school will give you extra compensation. You won't work for free. Dr. Luo didn't say anything and just agreed. After that, Teacher Ching Hu left. He said that he had to go to the principal's house to report some schoolwork. Let's get off work? Boss Luo looked at Miss Maid and smiled. But Miss Maid held up her phone and said, It's a message from Neo Dogwon. He said that he will come over tonight. Then let's open for business. Boss Luo smiled casually. End of chapter. Chapter 2371. Nan Xiaonan was not a professional when it came to investigating cases, but there was one thing she was a professional at: autopsy. If the blade of the scalpel was sharp enough, it would feel as delicate as cutting butter. Just thinking about it made Lin Sanjiu's fingers uncontrollably assume the posture of holding the scalpel. But as a biology teacher, how could she appear in the autopsy room of the Huiyun City Police Station? "Hey, Dr. Fong, didn't you get off work? Why are you back?" "There's an autopsy report to be submitted tomorrow, so I have to come back to work." Is it the case of the perverted murderer? They even set up a special team. But I'm already there. Of course. The guard didn't stop him. He politely let the doctor pass. However, he didn't notice that the real doctor was still in the car in the parking lot. He was stripped down to his underwear and a pair of socks in the trunk of the car. Forensic medicine in the world of Kanglin didn't exceed Nan Xiaonan's knowledge, except for the study of monsters. When she dissected corpses, she was used to playing some scary music in the autopsy room. This could make people more focused. However, in order to avoid any trouble, she could only follow the habits of the real medical examiner Fong. After putting a recording pen on her collar, Nan Xiaonan lifted the cloth on the operating table and started the operation. "Speaking of which, I was inexplicably bombed by you yesterday. Now I'll cut you a few times, so we're even, right?" She looked at the corpse in front of her seriously, as if she was talking to herself. The photo was posted on the campus network of Huiyun High School, so it was probably spread by the murderer. But after seeing the real thing, Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but be surprised by the murderer's special aesthetic. The arms and legs were different in size, so there was no way to suture them well. Therefore, the murderer chose to cut off the calf of the deceased. In this way, the fracture at the knee and the fracture at the shoulder were almost the same. The idea is good, but the suture technique is a bit rough. Maybe it's the first time? Nan Xiaonan carefully checked the sutured area. The side of the wound is red, and the wound shows signs of turning out slightly. It's a previous injury. His lower body was severely damaged. No traces of body fluids were detected. Stomach, his throat was crushed. What a guy! After busying herself for most of the night, Nan Xiaonan finally took off her mask and stretched her body in satisfaction. Her addiction to dissecting the corpse had slightly subsided. She was sorting out the autopsy report. He had to place this thing in front of forensic medicine and hypnotize this forensic doctor so that he would think that he had the experience of performing an autopsy. Then everything would be over. Perfect. That was what she thought. But she forgot that she had always been unlucky. If she did not follow the almanac when she went out, she could fall into a trap at any time. The door of the room suddenly opened. Then a middle-aged man in a khaki trench coat, with a mustache and an angry expression, walked in quickly. "Old Fong, is the autopsy report out yet?" Behind the middle-aged man, there was a girl with an unfriendly expression, Red Child. "Ma, Sir Ma." Nan Xiaonan could not help but blink. She instinctively reached out and pinched her thigh. Was this a King dream? "Don't you usually call me Old Ma?" The middle-aged man in the trench coat. Officer Ma frowned, but did not care too much. "Let's not talk about this. What's the report?" "It's really, Sir Ma, or should I say, Sir Ma in Pale Blue World?" Nan Xiaonan calmed down a little. Although she was surprised, it was not unacceptable. The truth of the subworld was very complicated, but it was actually very easy to understand if it was compared to different parallel worlds. As long as it was not those who had unified their own legends, it was easy for ordinary people to find another one of themselves in a parallel world. There were many ways to unify the legends, and they were very strange. There was even a special method in the void. As long as you killed all the versions of yourself in the subworld and left the last version of yourself, it was a kind of unification. It was also called, "I Kill Myself." Let's label Officer Ma in Pale Blue as Sir Ma 2.0, she had to tell the boss. Nan Xiaonan was using the fake identity of Doctor of Methods. The appearance of Sir Ma 2.0 and Red Child disrupted her original plan. How could the princess of Fiery Cloud City be with Sir Ma 2.0? What kind of couple was this? She pondered and said, "I've just checked and got the preliminary result. As for the pharmacological analysis, it will take some time, but the cause of death has been found. How did Badan die? Red Child's voice was a bit low. She couldn't keep calm. Nan Xiaonan didn't speak. She frowned and looked at Sir Ma-Tu. Zero, Sir Ma-Tu. Zero hurriedly said, Old Fong. She's a member of the Special Task Force and the deputy leader. She could really do whatever she wanted with power. Nan Xiaonan shrugged and said, The victim suffered inhumane torture before she died. We found many wounds on her body. Her hands and legs were sewn up by the murderer before she died. She must have seen her body being sewn up. Bastard. Red Child pinched the corner of the table, and the corner of the table melted. Nan Xiaonan's heart skipped a beat. She was too happy to dissect the corpse, and then met Sir Ma-Tu. Zero. So she almost forgot that pale blue belonged to the heavenly court. Miss Red Child, please calm down. Sir Ma-Tu. Zero hurriedly tried to stop her. I'm fine. Red Child took a deep breath and said in a low voice, Dr. Fong, please continue. I won't burn you to death. The real fatal wound was her throat being crushed. Nan Xiaonan nodded and said, Actually, according to what she suffered before she died, even if her throat wasn't crushed, she wouldn't have lasted for long. However, the murderer seemed to have crushed her throat for some reason. Maybe the murderer was afraid of being discovered, or maybe he was in a hurry, or maybe he wanted the victim to see how he killed her. What do you mean? Sir Ma-Tu. Zero frowned. Old Fong seemed to be a tough guy today. He was usually slow and didn't want to talk much, as if he was afraid of getting into trouble. He waited until noon, 3:30 p.m., and after the afternoon session, he waited until work was over. I found some bruises on the victim's legs. Arms now. Nan Xiaonan thought for a while and said, Sir Ma, lie down, and I'll show you. You'll understand. Sir Ma-Tu. Zero laid down in a daze. Old Fong was a tough guy today. Was he trying to impress Red Child like the other officers in the bureau? Like this. Nan Xiaonan wasn't as careful as Sir Ma-Tu. Zero. She kneeled on his arms and pinched his throat with both hands. Don't really pinch. The murderer should have looked like this. Nan Xiaonan said. He pinned the victim from the front and kept looking at her. Then he exerted force with both hands. The murderer probably wanted the victim to see his own face before he died. It might be a way to declare his authority. The murderer is more likely to be a man. A wave of heat hit them. Red Child was emitting heat. Sparks were flickering in her long hair. The temperature was so high that the smoke detector in the room let out an ear-piercing sound. Then water sprayed out. I'm calm. I didn't set any more fires. Who turned off this noisy alarm? I'm going to burn this *TTY place. The alarm was finally turned off. Huiyun police station escaped a disaster. Looking at Red Boy, who was gradually calming down, Nan Xiaonan's hands trembled. She suddenly hid a document behind her back. What are you hiding? Who the hell knew how she found it? Nan Xiaonan's face changed, but Red Child stretched out her hand and said in an unquestionable tone, Give it to me. The victim's heart was taken out. Nan Xiaonan sighed. It was cut from the back. The murderer must have taken out the heart after killing the victim. Bang! The fire was as bright as fireworks. Today, the Huiyun police station headquarters set off fireworks. It's on fire! Black Star, is there a fireworks show tonight? Neo Dogwang curiously lay in front of the car bed and looked at the location of the fire. That seems to be the police station. I've never heard of it. Black Star sat upright with his hands on his knees. He just glanced at the fire outside and didn't pay much attention to it. It feels a little stuffy. Neo Dogwang retracted his gaze. Black Star, I feel that we didn't bring enough people this time. Why don't we go back and prepare? Today's combat force is already enough to wipe out a small capital city. Black Star said indifferently. Unless Princess Rakshasa uses the Rakshasa Ghost Kingdom's army, she can't get to you alone, boss. Is that so? Neo Dogwang shrunk his neck. At this time, the extended version of the flying car, which had undergone a lot of explosion-proof treatment and the safety factor was maxed out, and its cost was almost equal to the annual GDP of Huiyun City. It landed in front of Dr. Luo's clinic. Just like last time, the messy streets had been cleaned up, and the surroundings were terrifyingly quiet. A group of fully armed soldiers formed a human wall and quickly sent Nyo Dagwong to the front of the clinic. "Mr. Nyo, you're also very energetic today." The maid served the customer flower tea as usual. However, Nyo Dagwong was afraid that this thing was poisonous and didn't plan to drink it at all. Being afraid of death seemed to be something that he had done his whole life. It was still in the boss study room. However, this time, Nyo Dagwong brought Black Star with him, as if to boost his courage. "Dr. Luo, the little pill you gave me is really useful. The effect is indescribable. It's a pity that the duration is too short." Nyo Dagwong immediately said, "I'll take all of your pills." "Old Nyo, I'll take all of them. In the future, you can supply me with these pills exclusively." Old Nyo was really rich. More than 70% of the entire Huiyun city belonged to him, and this didn't include the branches of the Flat Sky Corporation in other cities. With money, he could do whatever he wanted. Boss Luo smiled and said, "Mr. Nyo, are you sure you want to take all of it?" Old Nyo waved his hand and said, "No problem. How much do you have?" Boss Luo thought for a while and said, "If it's on my side, I should be able to produce limitless." "Limitless?" Old Nyo opened his mouth and couldn't help but mutter, "That's right. As long as you have the prescription, you can produce it at will." "How about this? I also have a pharmaceutical company under my name. Why don't you sell the prescription of this medicine to me? I'll buy it directly." Boss Luo said in the tone of an ordinary businessman, "Mr. Nyo, what do you think of the effect of this medicine?" "Very good. It can't be any better. It's simply a miracle medicine." Boss Luo said, "Mr. Nyo, how many people do you think will want to buy this medicine?" Nyo Dagwong started to frown, and his voice suddenly sank. "Dr. Luo, I respect you. That's why I call you Dr. Luo. You should know who I am. This prescription, I'll definitely get it today. Of course, I've always been very fair. I definitely won't shortchange you. You can ask for a sky-high price, but whether I'll give it to you or not depends on my mood. Black Star, show me some skills and let Dr. Luo open her eyes." After saying that, Nyo Dagwong leaned back on the chair and crossed his arms in front of his chest. He had a card up his sleeve. He was definitely going to get it today. Therefore, the huge Black Star's body started to change. Its skin started to sway like liquid and changed. Finally, its whole body seemed to be plated with a layer of silver hardshell. This is the special edition, Yellow Turban Strongman, level humanoid magical equipment customized by Kunlun. There won't be more than 3 of them in all pale blue. Nyo Dagwong kicked his nose and said, "Do you know how many treasures I've spent on Black Star?" Then, Black Star stepped forward and used a terrifying pressure to suppress Boss Luo. In the next second, Miss Maid narrowed her eyes. Nyo Dagwong also didn't know what happened. He saw Black Star's arms were directly removed. Then, this special edition, Yellow Turban Strongman, that wouldn't be more than 3 of them in all pale blue, was directly thrown out. "Mr. Nyo, you can't use violence here." Miss Maid blinked her eyes. Nyo Dagwong also blinked his eyes. "Damn it, what has happened?" "This delicate little nurse is so fierce." Nyo Dagwong instantly shuddered. He was originally afraid of death. His biggest reliance when going out was Black Star. Without Black Star, he felt uncomfortable and insecure all over. I'll visit you another day." "Coward." In an instant, Nyo Dagwong picked up Black Star's 2 dislocated arms and directly ran out. He didn't even talk about buying the prescription. His degree of fear of death was extremely high. The mighty combat team instantly rushed back to the Flat Sky building. "It seems that I really scared this Mr. Nyo." Miss Maid looked at the mighty combat team in front of the door. She had already used very, very little strength. Recently, she was so happy that she didn't even have the energy to abuse people. She was about to go back. Just nice that no one would disturb her. But at this moment, when did a clinic open here? In front of the clinic, a man looked up in confusion. When he saw the man and woman in front of the clinic, he even showed a trace of surprise. "Aren't you Dr. Luo?" "Hello, Mr. Xiaohu." Boss Luo smiled at this time and said, "Are you interested in coming in and sitting?" In the night, Mr. Xiaohu stood in front of the clinic in a daze, and then nodded. He wanted to go in, wanted to go in. There was a voice in his heart, urging him at this time. End of this chapter. Chapter 2372. Teacher Little, who seemed very restrained, his hands restlessly rubbing his thighs back and forth a few times. He wanted to look but didn't dare to. He secretly looked around. I didn't expect there to be such an exquisitely decorated clinic in this place. It must have cost a lot. This chair also looked expensive. So did the table, the teapot, and the cup. He was even worried that he would mess up the furnishings. These are all handmade products. The materials are easy to find in the suburbs, so they aren't very expensive. Boss Luo smiled. Teacher Little, who, do you live nearby? Teacher Little, who nodded. It's just a bit ahead, not far away. Do you live alone? Boss Luo asked casually. Teacher Little, who shook his head. I'm currently renting with someone else. Renting together? Boss Luo blinked curiously. Teacher Little, who scratched his head. The cost of living in Fire Cloud City is too high. For someone like me, who came up from a village below, I have no foundation, and consider it as a subsidy. Are your injuries better? Boss Luo asked again. Better. Teacher Little, whose lips moved slightly, and he smiled sadly. Actually, I'm already used to it. Sparring teachers are always thick-skinned. And Boss Luo thought for a while. Why did you choose this profession? I mean, sparring partner. This was very much like a conversation between ordinary friends. For a moment, Teacher Little, who seemed to have seen an old classmate he hadn't seen for many years. They occasionally met on the streets, and then sat together, drinking 2 cups and telling each other about their recent situation. Old classmate. How long has it been since I last saw those old classmates and friends? He was slightly distracted, and in a trance, he didn't seem as restrained as before. Of course, it's because the salary is high enough. There's also the issue of compatibility. I'm practicing a defensive type of cultivation technique, and I'm not good at attacking. The only advantage is that I can take a beating, right? If I don't do this job, I can probably only find some physical work. Now, I'm considered a high school teacher, so when I introduce myself to others, I can at least be more dignified. Something like that. The indecency of being naked was something that only she herself knew. When he said those words, only he himself would know whether or not he felt dignified. Although he was no longer so reserved, he still couldn't raise his head to look at others. Teacher Xiao, who couldn't continue. He could only feel his face and ears turning red. The new school doctor in front of him was probably the kind of person he dreamed of. He was young, promising, accompanied by a beautiful woman, and had a mysterious and charming temperament. In fact, the news about the new school Dr. Luo had spread in the past 2 days. The students, both male and female, seemed to be attracted by the new school doctor. Even he, when he knocked on the door of the infirmary for the first time and saw the school doctor and nurse, a sense of inferiority arose spontaneously. No one was born with fairness, right? This was probably the unfair difference between people. Have you ever thought of changing? Boss Luo suddenly said, change your current state. Change. He was in a daze. This sentence seemed to have a magical power, making him fall into it uncontrollably. Almost instinctively, he blurted out how to change. He couldn't help but think of the words of another new teacher, Xiaonan. It seemed to be similar. Could it be that he was really a good-for-nothing to the extent that anyone would feel the need to change at first glance? Boss Luo looked at the time. Any change is fine. Why don't you start from the surface? Teacher Xiao, who, what size clothes do you wear? What? What kind of experience was this? Probably, it was an experience that could only be experienced when one spent a month's salary in a high-end salon. No. Even those high-end salons wouldn't have hairdressers of this level, right? He didn't expect that this young lady who called herself Nurse Yu actually had hairdressing skills. Although she wore gloves the whole time, it should be fine, right? But wasn't this a clinic? Why did she have hairdressing tools? This looked like a high-end hairdresser's family bucket set. Teacher Xiao, who felt that his vision was a little blurry, and he was very nervous. He was even blindfolded at this time, and could only hear the crisp sound of the scissors. And Yuye's hairdresser, who came on at the last minute, that strange sound, it was as if he was sent to the clouds. He couldn't be so relaxed, and unknowingly, he fell asleep. Son, When are you coming back? Our family picked a girl for you, and she's quite good. Our high school teacher's so busy. When you come back for the new year this winter break? Your father's health hasn't been good recently. Brother, I want to be a high school teacher like you when I grow up. My classmates are so envious of me. He fell asleep. He subconsciously rubbed his eyes, only to find that the blindfold had been taken off. It was quiet all around, and Dr. Luo and Nurse Yu were not there. Teacher Xiao, who subconsciously stood up. It was dark all around, and it was a very quiet space. He looked at himself. He was wearing a set of clothes that seemed to fit his figure very well. It didn't feel like a big brand, but the materials seemed to be quite high-end. There was a full-body mirror in front of him, and in the mirror, he could see his current appearance. It's me. He knew his facial features very well. Rather than saying that they were flaws, it would be more accurate to say that his parents had casually installed them to save time. His facial features were still the same, but they seemed to have been modified. Hairstyle, eyebrows. Even his face seemed to have been put on makeup. Teacher Xiao, who didn't know the technique of makeup, but to be able to rearrange these strange facial features, it could only be described as a divine skill. I look like this. He reached out to touch himself in the mirror. Even if it's a dream, it's a good dream. He looked at himself for a long time in order to remember it. When he felt that he had remembered it, Teacher Xiao, who gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. He used his hands to scatter his hair and wipe off the makeup on his face. In the lobby of the clinic, Boss Luo and Miss Maid were playing a black and white chess game. It wasn't Go, but a unique chess game in the world of Kanglin. Teacher Xiao, who walked out silently. He folded the set of clothes that fit him very well and held it in his hands carefully. Miss Maid stopped and looked at Teacher Xiao, who indifferently, without saying anything. Don't you like this set of clothes? Boss Luo asked curiously. No, I like it. Teacher Xiao, who put the folded clothes on the table and smoothed them with his hands, but it's too expensive. It doesn't fit me. Is it really not? Boss Luo smiled casually. Teacher Xiao, who took a deep breath. Thank you for doing this for me. This is probably the happiest thing that has happened to me in all these years. I'm so happy that I'm a little worried. Boss Luo said softly. Confidence comes from the inside out, but if you're not confident, you can start from the outside in. We like to see beautiful things, and people get along with each other from the first sight. If I'm just a sloppy person when you see me for the first time, will you care about me? Teacher Xiao, who said subconsciously, there are people who don't care about their appearance and don't care about how the world looks at them. Boss Luo smiled. Of course there are people like that, but these people have good qualities. They're the kind of pearls that can't be hidden. Moreover, if they don't leave an impression on you at first sight, you won't have the chance to know how extraordinary they are. You might forget them very soon. Teacher Xiao, who muttered to himself. Boss Luo said, of course, these words aren't great principles. They're common occurrences. The key is that they can be maintained. Teacher Xiao, who, just take them as beautiful words. You don't have to mind them. Little Who smiled bitterly and said, those are really beautiful words. If it were someone else who said it, I would probably subconsciously reject it. But I don't know why, but I feel like I can listen to your words. Thank you for listening to me, Boss Luo said softly. Teacher Xiao, who was stunned. It turned out that some people's elegance was carved into their bones. He couldn't stay here any longer. He felt like the longer he stayed here, the more he would fall in love with this school doctor. That kind of pure love. He liked the free wind, liked the smell of spring, liked the calm lake. He liked it. This shirt, can you give it to me? He said subconsciously. Then, he regretted it instantly. Thus, he hurriedly said, what I mean is, can I buy this shirt? If it's too expensive, can I buy it in installments? Ma's salary was paid at the end of last month. He wasn't stupid. For a shirt that could fit his body perfectly, it couldn't be bought in a mall. Although he didn't know why Dr. Luo could give it to him, the world of blue heaven was a magical world, wasn't it? I see. Boss Luo smiled. As for the shirt, Teacher Xiao, who, you can take it first, but in the future, I'll take something from you as compensation. I don't know how you feel about it. Take something? Teacher Xiao, who was surprised. Do I have anything valuable on me? Not now. Boss Luo said casually, but maybe in the future. In fact, I don't see anything on you that can compensate for this shirt. That was too much. He had suffered a huge blow. It's just a shirt, although it looks quite rare. Teacher Xiao, who couldn't help but mutter. Miss Maid said, "It's a shirt that fits you perfectly. Don't you want it?" No matter what, he couldn't be looked down upon by a woman. Teacher Xiao, who gritted his teeth, thinking that if this shirt was a Dharma robe, he could go to Flaming Cloud Bank for a loan. "I'll take it." As the cold wind blew, looking at the bag in his hand, Teacher Xiao, who felt as if he suddenly woke up. That feeling was like running into a mall, then being crazily asked by the salesperson, and then stupidly swiping his card. The feeling of regret after buying it. He subconsciously looked back at the clinic behind him, feeling that he didn't want to go in. Speaking of which, he did his hair and bought a shirt. Was this a F***King clinic? He felt that tonight's experience was somewhat unbelievable. If I knew, I wouldn't have taken it off just to look cool. And that exquisite makeup, if he went out to find someone to do it for him, it would probably cost a lot. He felt as if he had lost half a month's salary. Oh no, it's already so late. His phone suddenly rang. Teacher Xiao, whose expression slightly changed. After picking up the phone, he hurriedly said, "Sorry, foreman. I was delayed by something." "Do it. Definitely do it. I'll be right there. Right away." "Master, how should I record this bill?" In the study, Miss Maid was actually directly sitting on Boss Luo's lap. The two of them had been rather close recently. Boss Luo casually hugged her waist, closed his eyes, and said casually, "Just write it as pre-sale." Thus, Miss Maid slowly wrote in the account book, "Pre-sale of a piece of flawless." Pre-purchaser, Li Jianren, Xiaohu. Pre-payment, not yet. The fire in Flaming Cloud police station was put out. The initiator was now sitting on the curb opposite the police station, holding his chin with both hands, staring blankly at the people who were busy putting out the fire. Everyone was secretly looking at him with either angry or fearful eyes. They were angry but didn't dare to say anything, probably describing the situation. Probably, they couldn't wait to put her directly into jail, but they had to force themselves to smile. Catch it. Something was thrown to her face. Red Child subconsciously caught it and found it was a can of milk coffee. It was thrown by Dr. Method. Dr. Method came to Red Child at this time, sitting casually next to her, smiling. "I just heard from the director that the fire was good. Now the police station can apply for a lot of maintenance fees. He has long wanted to change the decoration of the office, and so on." Comfort? Red Child frowned. Doctor of Methods shrugged and said, "I just want to tell you that you don't have to care about your behavior. After all, no matter what you do, there will be people who can take advantage of you. The more you do, the more benefits you will get. Maybe they're already very happy." "Then what about you?" Red Child looked over with a blank face. "Do you want to get something for me? Fake goods?" "What?" Dr. Method. Nan Xiaonan blinked subconsciously. At this time, Red Boy pointed to his eyes and said, "My eyes are called golden eyes, fiery eyes, which can see through illusions. You're not a real doctor at all. You are a black fog." Nan Xiaonan suddenly spat out a mouthful of salt soda. She drank salt soda herself. "Golden eyes what? What the hell? I have never read Journey to the West. That's too much." This chapter ends. Chapter 2373. Miss Nan's acting skills had always been sincere. Even if her disguise was exposed, she still didn't change her expression. "In fact, I didn't expect to meet you." Nan Xiaonan shrugged and said, "I only planned to do the autopsy quietly and then leave quietly. It was you who barged into my life without my consent." Wasn't that a shameless excuse? Red Child's life had always been very simple. There was not a lot of deception, nor was there a lot of talking. In fact, most people could hardly talk to her for more than 30 seconds. "Why do you want to do the autopsy?" Red Child frowned. There were very few things that her eyes couldn't see through. From the beginning to the end, what she saw was only a mass of dark and swarthy things. The unknown always made people subconsciously shrink back. "I'm interested," Nan Xiaonan said indifferently. "Purely interested. Of course, you can also see it as a person who has nothing to do. Suddenly, he feels that he has found something to do." Red Child didn't believe it. At this moment, Sir Ma too. Zero hurried over and interrupted their conversation. Miss Redchild, I'm afraid it's not a good time to continue the case. Sir Ma too. Zero frowned and said, the director wants you to go home and have a rest. He'll let you know if there's any new progress. Redchild asked, Officer Ma, what do you think? Sir Ma too. Zero said formally, I agree with the director. At this moment, Red Boy sneered. He used a voice that made the bureau chief, who had his ears pricked up and even used a little trick to strengthen his hearing, tremble. Then it's simple. I'll get my mother to dismiss him. You could take over. What? Is that possible? How does it feel? Sir Ma too. Zero widened his eyes and his heart pounded. How much is the director's annual salary? Old Ma. Don't worry about the bureau. The most important thing for you now is to help Miss Redchild catch the murderer as soon as possible. The director was holding a megaphone in the distance. What we need most now is for me, the director who has served Huiyun City for more than 60 years. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Redchild smiled and said, Officer Ma, what do you mean? Officer Ma too. Zero sighed. Let's go. We tracked down the taxi. But miss, I have a request. You have to listen to me when it comes to handling the case. I can listen to you, Redchild said calmly. But it's up to me. Take this guy with you. I have something to ask him. Old Fong? Sir Ma too. Zero blinked. They were going out to investigate a case and look for clues. They were not going to a murder scene. What was the point of bringing a forensic officer along? The city was bustling, and the forest park in Flaming Cloud City was also in full swing. Workers were busy digging. Soon, a new hotel was going to be built here. The Small Forest Hotel was the most important project of Flat Sky Group this year, but Boss Neo canceled the groundbreaking ceremony a few days later. Underground, there were all kinds of smells mixed. The workers were taking turns to do the low-paid manual work under the orders of the black-hearted foreman. Even so, the scene was still filled with workers sizing them up. Most of them were temporary workers, and among these temporary workers, most of them came from the bottom of Flaming Cloud City or were homeless vagrants. Some of them worked multiple jobs to make a living and even came to earn extra money at night. F*CK, Flat Sky Group, is really a black-hearted company. I've never seen such a ruthless company. Compared to working hard, the temporary workers were even more diligent in criticizing Fire Cloud Market for its sinful nature. At this moment, Teacher Xiao, who touched the wet traces of water on his forehead and raised his head with a slightly dizzy gaze. The pit was more than the size of a football field, and it was more than 20 meters deep. Looking up, it was like standing in an abyss. Although the temporary workers were cursing, in Huiyun City, the only company that could start such a huge project and recruit so many temporary workers at once was the Flat Sky Group. It should have been half a month since Teacher Xiao, who became a temporary worker at this construction site. He relied on the fact that his cultivation method allowed him to recover his qi quickly and had sufficient stamina to do the work of 2 people. He was able to earn a salary of 1.5 people. His income was barely decent. His parents didn't have a high income, but his younger brother was much better than him. He was studying in a blessed land, but the cost of living in the blessed land was too high. He needed to support his younger brother's studies, and his salary as a sparring teacher in Huiyun High School wasn't enough. Help! Someone fainted. People up there, why did they stop the oxygen supply? Are they trying to kill us? Suddenly, a commotion could be heard, not far from where Teacher Xiao was. He had been used to this kind of situation for a long time. Digging underground would create many tunnels. If the oxygen supply was not provided, it would be life-threatening at any time. There were not many cultivation methods that the people at the bottom could come into contact with. It was very difficult for the common cultivation methods to allow one to reach the state of turtle breath. To be able to reach the state of turtle breath meant that one was about to leave the mortal body. Not to mention the people at the bottom. Even the children of wealthy families who receive good education might not necessarily be able to achieve it. The one who fainted was an old, skinny, sloppy old man. Maybe he had met him once? Mr. Who silently watched the old man being carried away. The old man was actually not breathing. It was hard to imagine that such a scene would happen in such a bustling capital like Huiyun City. He silently mourned for the old man for a moment, and then picked up the shovel again. He didn't work long every night. Otherwise, he couldn't guarantee his physical strength the next day. After all, he mainly worked in Huiyun High School. But tomorrow was the weekend, so he could work a little longer tonight. How about moving bricks all night? Not good. Crater 7 has collapsed. Someone come. But things didn't go according to one's wishes. Mr. Who's planned to work all night was soon forced to stop because of the collapse of a pit. The workers thought it must be because the engineer made a mistake in the measurement, while the engineer thought it was because the workers didn't dig according to the plan. Both sides insisted on their own opinions, and the construction site was completely stopped. Okay, don't quarrel. Dig out the people buried inside first. Save as many as you can. Everyone come and help. Soon, a path was cleared out from the potholes. Several people in charge of the construction site took the initiative to enter the potholes. But after a while, these people ran out in a hurry. They didn't say anything. They just announced the suspension of work. The temporary workers present would be given their salaries on the spot, and they would be notified when they would resume work and so on. It seems that work won't resume in these 2 days. Tomorrow, let's go to Huiyun Mine to take a look. Mr. Who thought about the harvest tonight and frowned slightly. He didn't even do his usual work and couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. Listen to me, they definitely dug out something inside. I was nearby. I saw a light, a treasure light. Did you see what it was? Let me tell you. Shoo. The 2 temporary workers who were whispering suddenly stopped talking. Then they looked at Teacher Xiao, who had just walked past with vigilance, and quickly disappeared into the forest. Treasure light. Mr. Who couldn't help but be startled and subconsciously looked at the big pit below. He quickly shook his head. Even if they really dug out a treasure in the hands of flat sky, even Bonehead wouldn't spit out. Blue Sky wasn't called one of the top 10 black-hearted enterprises for nothing. He shook his head and quickly left the construction site in the central forest. It's okay. Tomorrow is the weekend, and I just came back from a gathering with my colleagues. He held the phone around his neck and carried 2 bags of food in his hands, crawling in the narrow corridor. The lights in the corridor flickered, and it looked like it had been in disrepair for a long time. You don't have to worry about the weapons. The teams I led this month did well, and the school gave out a lot of bonuses. I'll send it to you in 2 days. I heard from my brother that if we want to use weapons, we have to use at least a level 2 magical weapon. Without a good weapon, you can't do any damage, right? It's enough. Why wouldn't it be enough? Don't worry. I'll definitely save some money for myself. Don't tell me your brother will scrimp for you. But you're a sensible kid. If you pester me to buy a spiritual weapon, I'll announce that I'm no longer your brother. Girlfriend? How can a girlfriend be more fun than a game? When you reach my age, you'll realize how interesting it is to earn your own living. Okay, I'll stop talking. I'm home. If you have time, call home a few more times. He hung up, opened the door, and closed the door. He leaned against the door, slowly exhaling. Outside the window was the neon lights of Huiyun City that never went out at night. The rented apartment was like a stone at the bottom of a well, surrounded by tall buildings. You seem to be back early tonight? Suddenly, a voice came. Gao Yong. Teacher Xiao, who subconsciously looked at the direction of the voice. In a narrow living room, the TV was the only light source in the apartment, mainly to save electricity. He looked at the back of the person sitting on the sofa. Startled, something happened at the construction site, so they stopped work. What about you? Don't you need to work late tonight? Tonight's business is not good, so I don't work. There's a Kanglan Super League competition in the middle of the night, so I bet on Big Dipper team. Eating porridge or eating dinner depends on tonight. Gambler, Teacher Xiao, who shook his head, but thought for a while. By the way, do you need a temporary replacement? I don't need to go to the construction site these 2 days, so I can help you. Brother, you can drive, but you don't have a taxi license. If I'm caught, I'll be in trouble. It's okay, I'm just saying. Teacher Xiao, who smiled, I'll go back to my room first. The voice in front of the TV suddenly said, Xiao Hu, today? Are you okay? Today? Little Hu paused for a moment, then smiled and said, What can happen to me? Aren't I standing right in front of you? Don't look at me too late. But for someone like you who works late at night every day, you probably can't sleep, right? Good night. Okay, good night. Back in his room, Teacher Xiao, who first folded the salary of the construction site and put it in a metal box. Then, he lay on the bed, looking at the news, WeChat moments, and part-time job information. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly sat up. The bag. The clothes in the bag. He had almost forgotten about it. Teacher Xiao, who took out a set of clothes from the bag, laying it flat on the bed, carefully smoothing each corner of the clothes. There's no label, so it's hard to estimate. Teacher Xiao, who murmured, "What material is it made of?" He actually regretted taking it back, carelessly. He suddenly found that he didn't have a suitable time to wear such formal clothes. If he wore it to school, it would be torn in half a day. So tired. Don't worry about me. I'm fine, very fine. He lay on the bed. Eyelids gradually became heavy, and he fell asleep unconsciously. At this moment, the clothes seemed to have a life of their own. Like a stream of water, they slowly flowed into Teacher Little, whose body, what? Sent for maintenance? What a coincidence. Officer Matu. Zero frowned. He was in a company called Chi Chi Taxi. His police badge allowed him to enter freely, and the person in charge of the taxi company was very cooperative. The driver said the engine was strange this morning, so he sent it for maintenance. This batch of cars is 20 years old, so it's normal to have some problems occasionally. Sir Matu. Zero thought for a while. I want to know the information of the driver last night. Please provide it to me. He had already told the director that he was here to investigate a case, but he didn't say what the case was. The director of the company wasn't stupid, so he didn't ask too much. He wouldn't make things difficult for a police officer of Huiyun City, for a contract worker, so he quickly gave the information of the driver. According to the records, this car was driven by Old Zheng. This is the information that Old Zheng registered with me. Sir Matu. Zero took a look at the information, giving it to his subordinate. Contact this Mr. Zheng. At this moment, Sir Matu. Zero felt that he had to comfort the miss of Huiyun City. He saw that Red Boy's expression was not good at this time. His hands were crossed in front of his chest, and his legs were constantly shaking. He was obviously impatient, but he was trying hard to restrain himself. But the temperature was a bit high. That's how it is to investigate a case. You have to be patient. Officer Matu. Zero said solemnly. But I have a hunch that we'll find something if we follow this line of investigation. Red Boy frowned and was about to say something. The director of the company said, "Officer, Mr. Zheng is here. Look, he's Mr. Zheng." At this time, a man with a sallow complexion wearing a hat slowly walked in, wearing a windbreaker and a mask on a hot day. Hearing the person in charge at this time, his eyes were stunned, and he turned around and ran in horror. Bang! Before the man could run 2 steps, he was caught up by a figure emitting a scorching aura. The man only felt his body sink and was directly pressed to the ground. Cracks appeared on the entire floor at this time. Red Boy's long hair was slightly scattered at this time, and sparks were flashing in his hair. "Why did you run?" she asked coldly. Mr. Zheng spat blood on his mask, saying with a trembling voice, "I don't know. I just felt something was wrong, so I ran." Red Boy gritted her teeth. "Tell me, did you drive this girl last night?" Red Boy put the phone screen in front of Old Zheng. The screen was a photo of Ba Dan's daily life. "Last night? No." Mr. Zheng said, I haven't seen this girl." Red Boy snorted coldly. "The traffic bureau's guy, I caught her getting into your car. Do you know what happened to her now? She was killed." "Traffic bureau." Elder Zheng gasped and said in horror, "No, it wasn't me. How dare I? There must be a mistake." Red Boy stared at him, and the temperature in the air rose again. "Sir Matu." Zero hurriedly walked forward and said before Red Boy did anything, "Mr. Zheng, right? I suspect you're involved in a murder case. Please come back with me to help with the investigation." It really wasn't me," Mr. Zheng yelled. "It wasn't me who drove last night. But according to the records, it was you who worked last night," Red Boy said in a low voice. Mr. Zheng said with a trembling voice, "I had something to do last night, so I found someone to take over my shift. The company doesn't allow that, so I didn't dare to say, it really wasn't me last night." "Then who was it?" It's a guy called Gao Yang." Mr. Zhang said quickly. I don't know him well, but he said he could take over my shift for half the pay. I thought I would take advantage of him. So I made an agreement with him. But I heard the driver said there was something wrong with the car. I didn't know if it was Gao Yang, and I didn't dare to say. So I could only lie. It really wasn't me. What do you think that person is called? Red Boy suddenly frowned. Gao Yang. Do you know him? Sir Ma too. Zero saw the change in Miss Fire Cloud's expression, so he couldn't help asking. I don't know, Red Boy said indifferently, and threw Mr. Zheng to Sir Ma too. Zero. Go ahead, I won't ask. It's boring. At this moment, Nan Xiaonan blinked her eyes. She, who had been watching the whole time, quietly hid the stack of documents on the taxi company's manager's table into her clothes. There were a lot of old driver's information. It would be a waste if she didn't take it. Chapter 2374. Midnight, 23 minutes past midnight. Officer Ma and his team walked out of the taxi company. Zheng was not taken away for questioning in the end, mainly because the police station was not suitable to take him in at this time. According to Zheng's description, this person called Gao Yang often appeared in a place called Limitless City. There were countless people with the surname Gao and the given name Yang. This name was too common. Officer Ma had to divide his men into two groups. On one side, he asked his subordinates to search for the information of the person, and on the other side, he rushed to the Limitless City without stopping, because Zheng said that Gao Yang was very difficult to find. He could only meet this guy in the Limitless City. Strictly speaking, this person was an unregistered resident of Huayun City. He had no identity. That Zheng, why did he give the car to an unregistered resident so easily? In the car, Red Boy could not help but frown. She did not even understand why Officer Ma did not take Zheng away. Her intuition was very sharp. She directly knew that Zheng did not confess everything. Zheng went to the hospital last night. Sir Ma said indifferently. His wife was diagnosed with bone poison and needs to be hospitalized for a long time. He asked someone to take over the shift last night and went to the hospital to see his wife. How do you know? Red Boy could not help but show a surprised expression. The person in charge of the taxi company told me. Officer Ma said, I saw a document on his desk that asked employees to donate to old Zheng. Also, didn't you smell the smell of hospital medicine on old Zheng's body? It seems that he just came from the hospital, and from the dust on his face and the oil on his hair, it seems that he has not been home for at least a day. But even so, Red Boy frowned. Sir Ma said calmly. He said indifferently, sometimes it's enough to know this. Why do you want to find someone to take over the shift? Why do you want to take the risk to find an unregistered resident to take over the shift? Why do you want to do it when you know it's risky? Naturally, it's because you have to do it. Red Boy said, but how do you know that he is not pretending? Sir Ma said, there is no filial son in front of the sickbed. He casually said, his wife has been in the hospital for a few years, and he's been taking care of her for a few years. No matter what happens, this kind of person, even if he's bad, is a bad person who loves his wife. Even if he wants to do bad things, he will restrain himself. Why? Sir Ma couldn't help but frown as he looked at the princess of Huayun City. He smiled bitterly. If something happens to him, he will be afraid that no one will take care of his wife. It's that simple. If something happens to him, he will be afraid that no one will take care of his wife. Red Boy lowered his gaze and muttered to himself, can a relationship between husband and wife be so good? Officer Ma and Dr. Fong at the back seat glanced at Red Boy. The relationship between Niu Daguang and Iron Luosha could only be described as fire and water. Dr. Fong suddenly said, speaking of which, what is this limitless city? The car suddenly shook because Sir Ma almost stepped on the wrong brake. Old Fong, you don't know about the limitless city? Are you kidding me? Dr. Fong was looking at Red Boy crazily at this time. Sir Ma then realized what Old Fong meant. It turned out that he wanted to ease the atmosphere in the car. No wonder. Old Fong had been a forensic officer in Huayun Police Station for more than 10 years. How could he not know about the limitless city? This was a deliberate topic. The limitless city is a place where crooks and dragons mix together. It's surrounded by buildings. I heard that it was to build a super large community, but for some reason, the project was stopped and most of the buildings became unfinished buildings. Red Boy returned to normal at this time. He raised his head and said calmly, "Then no one cared about it, so it attracted many homeless people to live there. Then it slowly evolved into a gathering place. I heard that there are at least 100,000 people living there. It's like a village. The Limitless City is also called the Limitless Village." "That's right," Sir nodded and said, "But do you know why the Limitless City project was suddenly stopped?" "Why?" Dr. Fong asked curiously. Sir Ma shrugged and said, "Because the company that developed the Limitless City project was attacked by the Flat Sky Group, which led to a serious break in the capital chain. Later, the company was annexed by the Flat Sky Group, but the Flat Sky Group didn't bear the debt of the Limitless City. In the end, the boss of the company disappeared because he couldn't bear the pressure of the debt. There was a rumor that on a stormy night, the boss of the company used all his strength from the highest building of the Limitless City and directly committed suicide by jumping off the building." "Don't talk nonsense," Red Boy said with slight anger. "Why don't I know about this? Why do you know about this?" Sir Ma asked back. "This happened 30 years ago. At that time, Niu Dagwang was at the age where he could shoot seeds on the wall at most. How could he have a child as old as you?" "Ma, how? Do you want to die?" The voice of fury and flame sounded. "Do you still want to find the murderer who killed Badan?" Sir Ma said lightly, "Do you know how to get around the Limitless City without me? It's not like I haven't been there before." Red Boy gritted his teeth. Sir Ma chuckled and said, "I think both Niu Dagwang and Iron Luosha have told you about the dangers in the Limitless City more than once, right? But didn't they tell you that the Flat Sky Group and the municipal government launched 5 attacks on the Limitless City in the past few decades, but failed to destroy it? That's why the land in the Limitless City has been left empty all this time. Even Flat Sky Group couldn't do it." Dr. Fong blinked again. "Keep acting." Sir Ma too. Zero rolled his eyes at Dr. Fong and shook his head. "That person is in the Limitless City. Niu Dagwang and Iron Luosha wouldn't dare to do anything rash." "That person, who is it?" Dr. Fong kept blinking. "Thunder Emperor," Red Boy answered. Boom, boom, boom. Metal gates fell down one after another. On the 99th floor of the Flat Sky building, Niu Dagwang, who was 3 meters tall, was running with 4 or 5 black stars in his arms. 2 of Black Star's broken arms were under his armpits. At this time, outside Flat Sky, there were even 10 large airships used for combat, as well as hundreds of small fighter jets. The entire Flat Sky had entered a state of alert. Dr. Lee! Dr. Lee! Help, Dr. Lee!" Niu Dagwang's voice sounded like a pig being slaughtered in the corridor. It sounded like he was about to cry. After a while, Niu Dagwang ran into a dark room with Black Star on his shoulder. In the room, there were only a few flashing screens. On the floor, there was a large pile of books in all sorts of languages. When Niu Dagwang was studying, he only had the experience of being bullied by language students. The reason why Niu Dagwang knew how to write his name was because it was easy to recognize. He didn't even look at these precious documents and books and directly stepped on them. "Dr. Lee, help!" He threw Black Star on the ground and looked for Dr. Lee in the sea of books. "Boss Niu, what are you doing here instead of working with your secretary in your office?" Niu Dagwang subconsciously turned around and saw a man in a wrinkled white coat, cotton slippers, stubble. There was even a small Mina Bunny plushie hanging in front of his chest pocket. At this moment, he was holding a cup of noodles with a remote control and slowly walking over. "Black Star is broken." Niu Dagwang pointed at Black Star, who was missing 2 arms on the ground. "Someone just removed his arms." "Huh." The man in the wrinkled white coat revealed a slightly surprised expression at this time. He said thoughtfully, "Was it Madame Niu who did this?" "No. It's a very handsome nurse." Niu Dagwang suddenly shivered. F***CK. I thought Iron Fan was the most terrifying woman in the world. I didn't expect to meet someone even scarier than her tonight. Old Niu was scared to death. Do you know how she removed Black Star's arms? Ow! The man named Dr. Lee asked casually. At this time, Niu Dagwang opened his hands. Just like that, she disappeared with a whoosh and then reappeared with a whoosh. Then, with a whoosh, Black Star's hands were gone. Then, she looked at me with a smile, and I carried Black Star and ran. Old Neo was scared to death. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Dr. Lee slurped his cup of noodles. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. This time, it was Neo Dawang's cup of noodles. He squatted at the side and stared at Professor Lee as he removed the shell from Black Star's chest. He asked curiously, "Professor, can Black Star still be saved? If not, I'll send it back to Kunlun. What happened to the 100-year warranty?" "It's not a big problem," Dr. Lee said. "The joints of the removed arms are intact. The person who did this is quite interesting. She seems to be quite familiar with the structure of this kind of half-machine, half-magic equipment. The driving array in Black Star Center is only a slightly cut energy circuit. It should be fine after retracing it." "So simple?" Neo Dawang frowned and said, "Then I have no excuse to chat with the customer service lady from Kunlun, right?" "Boss Neo, give me 3 immortal crystals," Dr. Lee said indifferently. "It's for retracing the energy circuit." "You want 3 immortal crystals?" Neo Dawang's mouth trembled. 3 immortal crystals, with his wealth, was not painful at all. He was just stingy. "Then you can send it back to Kunlun's 4th Princess shop." Dr. Lee shrugged and said, "Anyway, I can easily replace the core for you. It will cost at least 8 or 10 immortal crystals, and this is not including the miscellaneous expenses, such as maintenance fees." "Damn, if I go to 4th Princess shop, will they really give me 4 princesses to play with?" Neo Dawang finally took out 3 immortal crystals and gave them to Dr. Lee while cursing. Speaking of which, this Dr. Lee was picked up by him on the road. He still could not figure out what his main research was. Anyway, there were all kinds of messy research. He was a big money burner. But there was one thing that Neo Dawang was sure of, and that was that Dr. Lee was a F***king genius at repairing magic treasures. Over the years, Neo Dawang secretly asked people to buy a large number of scrapped high-grade magic treasures at a low price. After Dr. Lee repaired them, he changed the packaging and sold them at a high price. He really made a lot of money. Similarly, Dr. Lee also got the right to live on the 99th floor of the flat sky tower. Black Star's repair was in progress. Neo Dawang's mood gradually calmed down, and he finished his cup of noodles. Then he thought of another thing. "Doctor, I gave you 2 small and half pills this morning. Have you analyzed the composition of them?" "I'm not a professional pharmacist," Dr. Lee said indifferently. "I can't see anything." "Even you can't analyze it?" Neo Dawang could not help but frown. The 2.5 pills that were given to Dr. Lee were actually the red and blue pills that he got from Dr. Luo. Last night, he didn't really put all 2 pills on the 2 secretaries. Instead, he secretly took a piece of the pills. The reason why he did this was not because he was particularly careful, but because he felt that since it was just a test, it was fine to test half a pill or 1 pill. Testing the effects for 2 hours and testing the effects for 1 hour was just to prove that the effects were real. As for the remaining half, he could still use it in other places. Wouldn't it be great if he could separate such a medicine and reap the benefits twice? Mainly, with his situation, 1 hour, no more. At least, in terms of composition, there are at least 5 things that are very difficult to find in Blue Heaven, Dr. Lee suddenly said. This may need to be synthesized through other methods. Speaking of which, Boss Neo, where did you get these 2 pills? What are their effects? "I got them from the black market." Neo Dawang shook his head and said, "I haven't figured out the origin yet. Since I can't analyze it, let's just leave it as it is. Don't waste your time on it. Finish the things at hand first. The thing should be fixed soon, right?" Dr. Lee was about to speak. Neo Dawang's phone suddenly vibrated, which made him jump up directly. He couldn't help but tremble, taking out the phone in a hurry. "What? You said Miss went to Infinite City." The streets that had been emptied due to Neo Dawang's arrival were once again filled with chaos. Amidst the colorful lights, the clinic that could not be easily seen had quietly turned off its lights. In the study, Boss Luo was wearing pajamas with a lapel slightly open, slowly opening the Book of Gaia on the table. After a while, he disappeared from the study. Miss Maid quietly closed the door of the study. With a faint blush on her face, she tidied up her collar while going downstairs. "It seems that Lady Nan is going to stay out tonight." Miss Maid closed the door with a smile, locked it, and then quietly put about 100 layers of seals and finally turned off the light in the lobby. After the light was turned off, Miss Maid walked into a room on the first floor of the basement. In front of her, a pitch-black cupboard quietly appeared. At this time, she was holding the remnant soul of 11 beginning that she got from Adanzo. Chapter 2375. After decades of evolution, Limitless Village was divided into 3 levels: upper, middle, and lower. The upper city had absolute control over the middle and lower city. This was the place where a lot of people at the bottom of Fiery Cloud City gathered. So the people living in the lower level of Limitless City were at the bottom of the bottom. In a narrow maze-like passage, pairs of numb or malicious eyes were looking at the uninvited guests in the Limitless City that night. In Limitless City, even the detectives wouldn't be swallowed by this huge village if they weren't careful enough. Criminals, killers, prostitutes, thieves, gangsters. Don't mind the things you shouldn't see. Sir Ma reminded Red Boy, "Remember, we're here to find Gao Yang." "But how? We don't even know what he looks like." Red Boy frowned. This was the most chaotic place in Flaming Cloud City. It was like hell. Then, she came from Flaming Cloud City's Heavenly Kingdom. She was the absolute princess of Heavenly Kingdom. The princess of Fiery Cloud City had a bad temper, but she was good at pretending. She was a young girl with a hot body. Along the way, they had received a lot of whistles and malicious gazes. They definitely didn't have Niu Dawang's genes, Doctor of Methods. Nan Xiaonan thought she had seen Niu Dawang, but she hadn't seen Iron Luosha, the top figure in Fiery Cloud City. Did Red Boy inherit her mother's genes? Here we are. Sir Ma 2. Zero stopped in front of a red light box. "Thanks, bar." Red Boy was stunned. "Are you going to ask for information here?" "Sir Ma 2. Zero said. "The owner of this bar is called Tank. He had a quarrel with his employer a few years ago, and he accidentally killed someone. Then, he hid in Limitless City. I was in charge of hunting him, but he managed to hide in Limitless City." "What happened?" Doctor of Methods frowned. The protection of the Limitless City was above the law enforcers of Fiery Cloud City. That was the ruler of the Limitless City that even Niu Dawang and Tai Luosha feared. Thunder Emperor? At this moment, Sir Ma pushed the door open and walked into the tank bar. Red Boy took a deep breath and followed him with a calm expression. She had indeed entered the Limitless City, but it was only in the outermost area, and it was under the secret protection of many bodyguards. She had only taken a turn in the outermost area, and before she could go deeper, she was taken away by Iron Rakshasa, who had heard the news. Although the tank bar wasn't in the center of the lower level of the Limitless City, it was much deeper than the last time she came here. It seems like it's no different from the ones outside. Tank bar wasn't as messy as the outside. It was only about 40 to 50 square meters, and that was the limit of space utilization. There weren't many customers here. In fact, it could be said that there were almost no customers. There was only a sloppy drunk man who was currently lying on a seat in the corner. In addition, there was only a bartender with a mustache who was slowly wiping glasses in front of the bar. "Tank!" Sir Ma shouted directly. "Officer Ma?" The bartender glanced at him in surprise and then smiled faintly. "What brings you here? If you still want to persuade me to turn myself in, I'll charge you double the price for tonight's drinks. Of course, if you're just here to chat with me, please sit down. I've recently developed a new cocktail, which is very suitable for middle-aged and old people. F*CKU. Sir Ma cursed and sat directly in front of the bar. "I'm not here to persuade you to turn yourself in. I'm just here to ask you something." The bartender, Tang, was deep in thought. In the end, he glanced at Dr. Fong and Red Boy. He didn't answer Officer Ma's question directly. Instead, he asked casually, "Officer Ma, these two aren't your subordinates, right? When did Hui Yun Police Station start hiring child labor?" "You better watch your mouth." Sir Ma shook his head. "You can't mess with this girl, and those in the upper management of the Limitless City are not easy to mess with either." Tank shrugged. "Officer Ma, are you looking for me because of the murder case that happened last night? How did you know?" Red Child looked at the bartender in astonishment. This guy looked gentle, probably the kind of person who had been a housekeeper all his life in her castle in the sky. He couldn't be a tank at all, right? The Fiery Cloud police station didn't announce Wang Badon's murder case to the public. Although the intranet of Fiery Cloud High School had been spread, the news should have been blocked immediately. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall. Tank said casually, "We're in the business of collecting information, so we have some special methods. Otherwise, Officer Ma wouldn't have come to me." Cut the crap. Sir Ma too. Zero didn't care that Tank knew about this. He asked directly, "I'm looking for a man named Gao Yang. He's an unlicensed taxi driver. He's about 25 years old and medium height. He should have been outside the Limitless City last night, helping a driver from Chi-Chi Taxi Company. According to the driver, Gao Yang often shows up at West 5th Street in the Limitless City." The murderer? Tank suddenly asked. "I'm still investigating." Sir Ma shook his head. "How long will it take to find him? Is he a resident of the Limitless City?" Tank suddenly asked. Officer Ma shook his head. "I don't know, but it's hard for a guy who can only drive an unlicensed taxi to be a resident of the Limitless City. He's probably a refugee here." "Wait a minute." Tank nodded. Officer Ma asked how long. "If you want to know if there is such a person, give me 10 minutes, Tank said calmly. "As for looking for him, it depends on the situation." With that, Tank pushed open a door behind the bar and walked in. At this moment, Officer Ma picked up the quilt with ease, turned on the tap of the beer barrel, and poured himself a glass of cold beer. He was an experienced man. "Old Ma, is this guy reliable?" Dr. Ma asked curiously. Officer Ma smiled. "Don't worry. As long as this Gao Yang appeared in the Limitless City, there will be traces. Tank and his team are experts at tracking down traces. Although he hasn't stepped out of the Limitless City for years, he probably knows more about Fiery Cloud City than you and me, both in the open and in the dark." Dr. Ma nodded. Lady Nan was also a lady of the underworld, so she imitated Officer Ma and poured herself a glass of beer. "This Tank is a resident of the Limitless City?" Red Boy was surprised. "I've heard that living in the Limitless City and getting the resident qualification are two different things. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Tank is quite capable, or else he wouldn't have escaped from me that year." Officer Ma muttered, "I was kind, or else ring." The sudden ringing of the bell made Dr. Fong's expression change slightly. But when he saw that the bell was shaken by the drunkard lying in the corner, Dr. Fong let out a sigh of relief. "Damn, it's so late, and he hasn't gone back yet. Missy won't close the door, right?" "No." The drunkard shook the bell for a while, but no one paid attention to him. Tank didn't appear. The drunkard cursed as he rummaged through his pockets, and finally found a few coins. He threw them on the table and staggered out the door. But Officer Ma stared at him without blinking until the drunkard left. "Sir Ma, do you know this drunkard?" Dr. Ma asked suddenly. "Every time I come, I see this guy." Officer Ma thought for a while and said, "His pocket. I can find some coins every time. According to Tank, this guy comes 2 or 3 times a week. He's a regular customer here." Then Shauna nodded. Actually, after she finished her debut in the Kingdom of Heaven, she officially joined the shop and started to learn how to distinguish souls under the urging of friendly and kind. After all, she was an undying life who had walked in the void before. She had a good foundation, so it was easy for her to learn. This method of distinguishing souls was a common method of distinguishing souls used by the Black Soul envoys under the shop. Generally speaking, it was to find customers better. The creator was the previous store manager. In the past, the previous store manager had countless Black Soul envoys under his command. Through the critical gate, he had placed Black Soul envoys in countless subworlds. In order to attract business more efficiently, he had created this standard identification method for Black Soul envoys. On her way into the Limitless City, the distinguishing method was activated. On the way, she met a few souls with good quality. Tank was naturally under her observation. The drunkard in the corner was also included. Tank's soul quality was quite good. It was the best soul she saw after entering the Limitless City tonight. Old Ma said that Tank was hiding in the Limitless City. It sounded like there was a story behind him. Maybe it was a good, unexpected gain for her. As for the drunkard, he had no value. This was the judgment given by the distinguishing method. Nan Xiaonan even thought that she was a beginner and made a mistake. Along the way, although the inferior souls were all the same, they were at least not valuable, negligible, and so on. Not valuable. This was the first time she encountered such a thing. According to the store, as nature, even if it was a good memory, it could be used as payment. Memories were part of the soul. Souls had no value. In other words, this drunkard didn't even have any good memories? What a dark and hopeless life. Of course, it didn't mean that the drunkard couldn't buy things in the store. After all, the distinguishing method was used to distinguish the quality of the soul. Things like body organs and lifespan weren't included. It was just that organs, health, lifespan, and so on had a lower purchasing power. While Lady Nan was applying what she had learned, Tank had walked out of the house again. It seemed like he already had the answer. Nan Xiaonan quickly stopped thinking about it. Found him. Tank took out a piece of paper and held it between his fingers. This is the address. He is indeed a refugee. He is currently in an apartment on West 5th Street. So fast, Red Boy couldn't help but blink, looking at this gentlemanly guy as if he had met him again. He is in the limitless city. Tank smiled casually. Officer Ma is more reliable outside. How about it, Officer Ma? Since you're an old customer, how about a 20% discount? Sir Ma snatched the paper and said casually, 20% discount? Are you looking down on me, or what? Do you think I lack this money? There is nothing to say. It must be paid in full. It's not like I can't afford it. Sign the bill. It will be paid at the end of the month. I forgot to bring my wallet when I went out today. Lady Nan blinked. Sir Ma 1-0 was such an honest person. He usually did nothing but play minesweeper in the office. Why did he become so stingy after 2-0? But the sense of justice was the only thing that mattered. If Tank's soul quality was the highest among the people she met in the limitless city, then Officer Ma's soul quality was undoubtedly the highest among these people, even a little higher than Red Boy's. But Nan Xiaonan didn't dare to look at him too much along the way. Inexplicably, when she observed Officer Ma, she would feel flustered, very flustered. This my guy might be under the boss's protection. This was the most that Nan Xiaonan could guess. Finally, after Officer Ma signed an IOU, he pushed the door open and walked out while cursing. As for that IOU, it was casually put away by Tank in the drawer of the desk. Nan Xiaonan's eyes were sharp. She clearly saw that there were a lot of IOUs in the drawer. There were at least 80, if not 100. She didn't say anything. She just pinned a button on the corner of the wall before she left. Move out, Neo Soldier 2. Number 1 has died in the portal of Fire Cloud High. God, Tank didn't have a single customer in the bar. As the bartender, he went to the corner to clean up the mess. In the end, he picked up a few coins left behind by the drunkard. Then, he returned to the bar counter and casually threw the coins into the trash can. Coins, or in other words, a few bottle caps. Ring, ring, ring. That was the ringtone of the phone, the wired phone hanging on the wall. Tank frowned. Generally speaking, this phone wouldn't ring, because it was a call from the upper area of the limitless city. Tank slowly sighed and walked to the wall. After slightly adjusting the bow tie on his collar, he picked up the phone and said seriously, I'm Tank. You mean Gao Yang? But the next moment, Tank showed a strange expression. No problem. I'll investigate right away. Please give me 10 minutes. At the same time, in a hall in the upper area of the limitless city, a delicate and pretty boy was smiling as he looked at Sun Ming, who was sitting across from him. The handsome boy smiled. Mr. Sun, please wait for a moment. I'll give you the information about this Gao Yang. End of this chapter.